Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto gets a bloodline from Kyuubi part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Konohagaku no Sato. Uzumaki Naruto was excited. Today was the day he would start at the Ninja Academy and take the first step towards his goal of becoming Hokage. Sarutobi Hijiran, the current Hokage of Konoha, had filled his forms and signed as his guardian as Naruto was an orphan. Naruto was truly thankful that his Aji-san had allowed him entry into the academy. For as long as he could remember, the villagers seemed to treat him with indifference, contempt, and sometimes hatred. He couldn't understand what he had done to warrant such behavior towards himself. He had stayed up many a night thinking about his life and wondering if it would eventually get better. Shaking his head of his morose thoughts, he got ready to go to the academy. He was the first one to arrive at the academy, and walking towards the end of the class, took a seat near the window. People began to come in. A few threw curious glances at him, but Naruto was busy staring out the window. Soon the teacher came in and asked the class to settle down. He began to take roll call. Uzumaki Naruto, the teacher, finished calling his name with a sneer plastered on his face. Great, another one, thought Naruto. Here, he replied in a monotone. Throughout the rest of the day, Naruto noticed the trend continue with each and every teacher of the class. He was getting totally frustrated by the attitude of the teachers. But he knew that he could do nothing about it. This is going to be a long 5 years, he mused. Time skip, 6 months. Over the past 6 months, Naruto had tried very hard to work hard and excel in his studies. He would complete the assigned work, would try to answer questions in class, but the teachers always said that he had failed. He couldn't understand why he was treated thus. He had hoped that by working hard he would be able to earn the respect of his teachers and be treated fairly at the very least. Although he was sure that he got every question right on the exam, he had barely scraped through, and the Rookie of the Year title had gone to Uchiha Sasuke. After another day at the academy, Naruto was walking towards his apartment. He passed the village park on his way and gazed longingly at the happily smiling kids playing with their friends, parents encouraging their kids to ride a slide or a swing. He felt his throat constrict and averted his gaze and walked resolutely away from the park. It was not good to get upset over things that can't be changed, he told himself. But he truly longed for a friend. He had gone to see the Hokage after a week of classes, but when he arrived at the tower, he saw that there were several ninja in his office and there was someone shouting. His Aji-san truly looked tired, and Naruto didn't have the heart to pile up his problems with his own. He was truly considering withdrawing from the academy. The treatment at the hands of his teachers hadn't improved, and he wasn't able to make any friends. Sure, there were some acquaintances, but he couldn't call them friends. Another odd problem that he had been having lately was his dreams. They always started with his standing in a long hallway surrounded with pipes and ended at a massive cage that had the kanji for seal on it. He could always hear someone call out his name from behind the cage, but whenever he used to approach the cage, the whole area would glow a pulsing white, and he would wake up in a cold sweat. He always thought that he could hear someone sobbing whenever he woke up. It tore at his heart that he was causing someone pain, someone that seemed to care for him, but he unable to do anything about it. Time skipped that night. After having a few cups of instant ramen as dinner, Naruto took out a scroll that he had acquired from the library, in which only third-year academy students were allowed to enter. It was a scroll that detailed the method that ninjas used to unlock their chakra for access. Chakra, Naruto realized, was the most important thing for a ninja. Without it, they were simple martial artists. Chakra allowed ninjas to perform feats that were beyond imagination. Predictably, Naruto couldn't wait to access his. Naruto read through the scroll twice before making sure that he had the facts right. He sat down on his bed and began to meditate. He quickly got bored doing it and let his mind wander. He remembered the cold, hateful stares, the vindictive eyes cursing him, shouting at him silently. He remembered the silent sobbing that he would hear when he woke up from one of his weird dreams. Naruto was suddenly filled with determination to change the way people saw him, to earn their respect, to prove to them that he was worthy of their respect. But even this determination paled in comparison to the need he felt to find out who was the person who cared enough to weep for him. Naruto returned to the exercise with a new wind. He closed his eyes and concentrated. Searching for the feeling described in the book, it said that it would be near the navel, a feeling of power and lightedness. He concentrated hard. His eyes were closed, so he never noticed the complex seal structure that suddenly appeared on his stomach. Naruto suddenly felt a huge power that was within his grasp. All that he had to do was reach for it. He extended a mental hand towards it and sighed as he opened his eyes. What he saw in front of him shocked him to the very core. Chakra. His own chakra surrounded him, black streams of energy going outwards from his body. Chakra that could be seen with the naked eye. Naruto tilted his head in confusion. The scroll never mentioned such a thing happening. He, however, liked the feeling of it and tried his best to bring out as much of it as possible. A huge shockwave of chakra exploded out of him, utterly destroying his bedroom. Naruto saw the destruction around him, amazed that he could do such a thing. "It looks like I overdid it a bit," he said, and promptly passed out. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto regained consciousness and looked around at his surroundings. He was in the same hallway that he saw when he used to fall asleep. There was a difference now, however. The walls seemed to be pulsing with the same shade of black that he had seen earlier. He walked the now familiar path towards where the cage was. He arrived at the hallway leading to the cage, and the previously muted sounds that he could hear were heard clearly by him. Naruto-kun. The voice that he heard was distinctly female, and was laced with an underlying of unimaginable power. Naruto hurried his footsteps and came upon a sight that filled him with awe. There behind the cage with the seal on it was the biggest fox that he had ever seen. A fox with 9 tails. Behind the cage was the famed Kyuubi no Kitsune. "Please don't be afraid of me, Naruto-kun," Kyuubi said. "You're the Kyuubi, aren't you?" Naruto asked in a shaky voice. "Yes, I am," Kyuubi replied. "Everyone believes that you were defeated by the Yondaime Hokage approximately 7 years ago," Naruto said, trailing off at the end, gaining confidence, as he saw that Kyuubi didn't immediately attack him. Naruto had a weird expression on his face, as if he was trying to figure out something, connecting dots with the information that he had received. He paced in front of the cage, muttering so low that even Kyuubi with her enhanced hearing could not hear. Kyuubi's luminous red eyes followed Naruto's path, darting from one place to another. Finally he stopped and stared at the Kyuubi. His gaze unnerved Kyuubi to no end. Those eyes of his were far too intelligent, too mature to belong to a child. But looking back at his life, she was not surprised. "He sealed you within me," Naruto declared. Kyuubi was astonished. He was able to glean that from just meeting her. Hell, she had barely spoken 2 sentences to him, and he figured all that out just by staring at her. "Got it in one, Naruto-kun. You aren't as evil as most demons are said to be." Naruto was back to staring at her. "Were you the one who used to call out to me in my dreams? Were you the one I heard crying for me?" Naruto said softly. Kyuubi had to strain herself to hear the last part. "Please come inside the cage, Naruto-kun. I promise that I won't harm you," Kyuubi said, her voice cracking slightly, barely able to hold back her tears. Naruto nodded his head slightly. But as he began moving towards the cage, he realized that it would be physically impossible for him to fit in the cage that already housed the humongous Kyuubi no Kitsune. He paused right outside the cage bars. Kyuubi, sensing his problem, quickly transformed into her human form. When the flash associated with her transformation died down, there, in place of the Kyuubi, was a girl of around Naruto's age. Her eyes remained the same, a beautiful shade of red. She was a tad bit shorter than Naruto, had red hair that went up to her mid-back. Her hair was tied in a ponytail of sorts with what seemed to be a gold ornament. She was wearing a red kimono and Geta sandals. "You can come in now, Naruto-kun," Kyuubi said, her voice laced with emotion. Naruto entered the cage and walked up to Kyuubi. She patted the floor next to her and Naruto sat down beside her. "There are a lot of things you don't know, Naruto-kun. It would be best if I tell you exactly how I was sealed into you." Saying that, Kyuubi started her tale. She told him how she was sealed within his mother Kushina Uzumaki before him, how she had been forcefully extracted from Kushina when she went into labor, how Uchiha Madara, one of the founders of Konoha, had taken control over her using his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, how she was forced to attack him when his parents had tried to seal her within him, how she had broken through the effects of the Sharingan just before she was going to impale Naruto's parents that had been ready to sacrifice their lives to save him, how Madara, angry that the Kyuubi was no longer under his control, had killed Kushina and forced the Yondaime to fight him, how the Yondaime had managed to drive off Madara with assistance from Kyuubi, how he had performed the Shiki Fuin, sacrificed his soul to the Shinigami and asked Kyuubi to always be there for his son, to train him and make him into a formidable ninja. By the time that the tale had reached its conclusion, both Naruto and Kyuubi had tears streaming down their faces and were leaning on each other for physical as well as emotional support. "Please believe me, Naruto-kun. I tried my best to fight him, but he was too elusive and I was severely weakened after fighting the whole of Konoha," Kyuubi said with her head hanging down in shame. "It wasn't your fault, Kyuubi-chan," Naruto said, holding her chin in his hand and lifting her face up to meet his. Kyuubi blushed faintly at the endearment and gazed into his eyes to search for his true feelings. She saw only honesty, sympathy and determination shining through. "Can you please tell me about my parents?" Naruto asked with longing clear on his face. Kyuubi couldn't resist and told him everything that she knew about Kushina and for the time that she had known him, Minato Namikaze. After a few hours of storytelling, Naruto asked Kyuubi if she was going to train him to be a great ninja just like his parents. "Of course, Naruto-kun. I will do everything that is within my power to make sure that you will be the strongest ninja in the elemental nations. You need to gain power fast in order to survive in the ninja world after all," Kyuubi said, nodding her head emphatically. "Before I get into your training schedule, I need to ask you something. Do you know what a bloodline limit is?" Kyuubi asked. Naruto tilted his head slightly and began racking his head for all the information that he had come across regarding bloodlines. "They have something to do with special powers and characteristics of a person, usually clans, isn't it?" Naruto asked. Kyuubi was again impressed by Naruto's knowledge. "You surprise me with your knowledge, Naruto-kun. You are indeed correct. Bloodlines basically are clan-specific techniques that cannot be performed by another person outside the clan. Now, bloodlines are of 3 types. Chakra type, which alters your chakra such that you will be able to perform techniques that cannot be replicated without utilizing the special type of chakra. The first Hokage had a chakra type bloodline. Second is the body type, in which the bloodline alters the physical body of the wielder itself. It may be either a transformation or a passive one such as regeneration. The Akimichi clan of Konoha are a prime example of this. The last type is a bloodline that alters the eyes and gives the user powers based on the type of Jujutsu that they have. The Uchiha and the Hyuga clan of Konoha have their respective eyes called as the Sharingan and the Byakugan. Do you understand so far, Naruto-kun? Yeah, besides bloodline limits certain Biju. That's me. Also can provide their containers with some powers that others view as a bloodline. Now Naruto-kun, your situation is something that hasn't ever occurred in the elemental nations. You Naruto-kun are going to be the first ninja ever to have all three types of bloodlines within you, Kyuubi said, smirking slightly at the odd expression on Naruto's face. But how is that possible? Naruto asked with a confused expression on his face. You have inherited two bloodlines from your parents. Your father had a bloodline that was related to the body. You will have to ask the Hokage about it, as I am not too sure about what it did exactly, but it allowed him tremendous stamina and exceptional muscle density. Thankfully I know all about your mother's bloodline. It was called as the Soul Blade. It was a chakra-based bloodline that allowed her to manifest a sword that was a reflection of her soul. In addition to that, her chakra being more dense than normal allowed her to perform techniques that hadn't been seen for thousands of years. I remember the training that she had gone through, and we will begin doing that as soon as you talk to the Hokage, Kyuubi said. But I still don't have a Jujutsu, Naruto pointed out. This is where I come in. You see, unlike your mother, who had already spent some time as a ninja before she was able to contact me, your chakra coils are just now developing. You will be receiving my form of the Sharingan. I will be able to implant it into your body using my chakra, Kyuubi said, looking quite proud of herself. What do you mean your Sharingan? Naruto asked. It was me who had given the Sharingan to the human ninjas in the first place. Most of the bloodlines found today are due to demons. So in a way I am responsible for the death of your parents. Madara abused his power to manipulate me and I ended up struck down by my own blade. Twice. Kyuubi seemed to shrink down on herself, brought her knees closer to her body and hung her head. Naruto didn't like to see her act in such a way. He truly believed that there was no reason for her to feel guilty over something that was clearly not her fault. He placed all the blame of the events that transpired that night on Uchiha Madara. He decided then and there that he would have justice and make Madara pay for all the crimes that he had committed against Konoha and his family. Kyuubi was startled out of her morose thoughts when she felt a hand trying to pry her hand apart. She looked up to see that Naruto was kneeling down in front of her, his eyes filled with determination. None of it was your fault, Kyuubi-chan. And for what it's worth, I don't blame you even a tiny little bit for that night. Kyuubi stared into his eyes, searching for a tiny bit of deception, any hint that this was not how he truly felt. The only things shining in his eyes were compassion and honesty. Kyuubi couldn't handle it anymore. She flung herself at him and began crying hysterically onto his shoulder. To his credit, Naruto just held her close and let her cry. His own tears soon joined in. They held onto each other for a long time, drawing comfort from each other. Naruto was happy that he finally found someone that he could call a friend. Someone that would acknowledge him, support him, and be there for him in general. Kyuubi was happy that she had finally gotten through to Kushina's son. She had promised herself long ago that she would be there for him. What her role was supposed to be in his life she didn't know, but she knew that she needed to teach him to protect himself. She was appalled at his treatment by the hands of the villagers. She had vowed that she would make them pay, whether directly or indirectly. So what do we do now, Kyuubi-chan? Naruto said while brushing off her tears. First I will have to implant the Sharingan, and after that we begin your training. Kyuubi replied, blushing at the contact. It would be best if you went to sleep for the implant, Naruto-kun. It will hurt for a while. After all, it's not just the eyes that need to change. I am going to alter your forming chakra pathways so that you can use the Sharingan to its full capacity, Kyuubi said as she closed her eyes and sent out her chakra in short bursts into the still forming chakra pathways and into the walls surrounding them. Naruto got up and walked away from the cage. With one last look at her, Naruto fell into a deep sleep. Hijirin Sarutobi, the Sandaime Hokage of Konoha, the village considered to be the strongest of the 5 hidden villages, was currently cursing his long-time enemy, paperwork. The damn thing seemed to multiply itself over time. Finished with reading the current paper on tax, he sighed, lit his trusty pipe and left his mind to wander. As was often the case, his mind wandered to Naruto Uzumaki, the container of the Kyuubi no Kitsune. He wondered how he was doing. It had been approximately 6 months since he had entered the academy. The boy had the potential to be one of the strongest ninja of Konoha. After all, he was the heir to 2 bloodline. Kushina was never forthcoming about her bloodline but was one of the best ANBU that had served under Konoha. Whether this had to do with her bloodline or her sheer hard work, he did not know. He was distracted out of his thoughts when he felt someone hurrying towards him. His door burst open and a dog-masked ANBU entered his office. Hokage-sama, there is someone at Naruto's apartment. We have detected an unknown chakra signature in the area. Tenzo is there at the moment. Sarutobi immediately signaled Inu dog to follow him and quickly performed a leaf sunshin, teleportation, towards Naruto's apartment. The sight that greeted him left him flabbergasted. Naruto's whole apartment looked as if a tornado had blown through it. And in the center of it all was Naruto, seemingly asleep. Tenzo was there surveying the apartment and searching for clues, residual chakra, burn marks, etc. Tenzo report. Sarutobi ordered authoritatively. This looks as an attack. But the chakra signature matches Uzumaki-san's. But that would mean that he has successfully accessed his chakra. The chaos is a direct result of the event. Tenzo bowed slightly, indicating that he was done with his report. Sarutobi closed his eyes for a moment. Inu, take Naruto to the ANBU hospital. Stay with him until further notice. I will meet you in the morning. Tenzo returned to your post. Go! Inu picked up Naruto, put him on his back and jumped out the window. Sarutobi was racked with a sudden sense of guilt. He had decided against telling Naruto that he had a godmother. His old student, Senju Tsunade, was named as the godmother of young Naruto as soon as he was born. After the Kyuubi attack, he had lied to her and said that Naruto was killed during the sealing process. He had known that Tsunade would not consent to stay in the village and would take Naruto away from the village. Sarutobi couldn't allow that. Naruto would give pause to other countries that would otherwise attack the village due to its low strength. So he had put aside his emotions and acted in the best interests of the village, unknowingly damning a young orphaned boy to a horrible childhood. Maybe it's time that she was told the truth. Looking around at the apartment, a single thought crossed his mind. I'm getting too old for this shit. Time skip. The next morning, Naruto woke up groggily, yawned, stretched, looked around at his room and froze. All that he saw was white. No colors whatsoever. This definitely was not his room. He began panicking slightly, and got up with a jerk. His head was throbbing in pain. Calm down, Naruto-kun, said a voice in his head. Kyuubi-chan? Naruto looked around, swiveling his head from one direction to other, trying to search for her. Yes. I'm talking in your mind, Naruto-kun. Just think what you want to speak to me. I'm so glad that it wasn't a dream. I don't think I would have been able to handle the disappointment. I'm never going to leave you, Naruto-kun. Before Naruto could reply, his attention was drawn towards a corner of the room. He felt as if he were being watched. He began staring his, by now, patented stare at the corner. Sometime later he saw as the air seemed to shimmer for a moment before a teenage boy stood in front of him. He was dressed in a standard ANBU outfit with a red scarf around his neck that hung up to his mid-back. He was wearing a dog mask. How did you know I was there? He asked, and then he seemed to realize something, shook his head and asked, How are you feeling? Do you remember what happened? Naruto just stared at him and said in a soft voice, I need to speak to Hokage-sama. Saying that, Naruto slept back in his bed and turned his back towards him. So Kyuubi-chan, did it work? Did what work, Naruto-kun? Kyuubi replied teasingly. You know, the Sharingan implant, Naruto whined. Kyuubi giggled. Naruto-kun is so cute. Wait. What? Yes, the implant worked perfectly, and I was even able to enhance your original bloodlines as well. Your father's bloodline will grant you regeneration as well as what it was capable of doing earlier. There was not much left to enhance in your mother's bloodline, but I still fed it my power, so there might be some changes. But we'll get to that later. How are you feeling? My whole body aches, especially my joints. And my head is throbbing like hell. Don't worry, I'm sure you will feel better in a few hours. Now remember, Naruto-kun, you cannot tell anyone about me. They wouldn't understand and would think that I am somehow influencing your thoughts and have taken over your body. You don't deserve to be treated like this, Kyuubi-chan. It doesn't matter what the villagers think of me. As long as you are willing to put up with me, I will be satisfied. I don't put up with you, Kyuubi-chan. I quite like your company, as short as it has been. Thank you, Naruto-kun. So then I just have to ask Aji-san about my parents, and to get access to their mansion, correct? Yes, Naruto-kun. Now if you don't mind, I need to catch up with my sleep. I'm exhausted after yesterday's activities. But don't hesitate to wake me up if you need help. Sure, Kyuubi-chan, sleep tight. Naruto let his mind wander about inconsequent things, and eventually fell asleep as well. Naruto slept the whole day and through the night. When he woke up the next day, he saw that he was still in the hospital. He looked around and saw the Hokage smiling down at him. Good morning, Naruto-kun. How are you feeling today? Sarutobi asked, a kind smile on his face. I'm fine. Naruto mumbled. Is there something troubling you? He asked. I found out about my parents. You lied to me, Aji-san, Naruto said with an accusatory glance. How did you find out? Sarutobi asked in a shocked voice. I saw my birth certificate in the trash outside your office. That's impossible. Naruto shrugged. It doesn't matter, you have to tell me about my parents, Aji-san. You owe me. Tell me what you know, Naruto-kun. I know that the Yandane was my dad and my mother's name was Kushina Uzumaki, ANBU commander and also known as the Red Death of Konoha, Naruto said, staring at the Sandaime. I guess that I don't have any other choice. Yes, Naruto, I lied to you about your parents because they were both very famous and powerful people. Over their respective careers as a ninja, they had accumulated a lot of enemies. If it were to get out that you were their legacy, you would be assassinated, Sarutobi stated flatly. Sarutobi knew that he was being harsh with his words, but now that he knew there was no sugarcoating the truth. Either he would grow past it and continue their legacy, or he would crumble under the pressure. Sarutobi genuinely hoped that Naruto would be able to rise up against the challenge. Can you tell me about my father's bloodline? Naruto asked with excitement rolling off him in waves. Sarutobi cursed his bad luck, Leave it up to Naruto to find out about one of the important village secrets in a trash can. All the information and belongings of your parents it's sealed up at their home. I think that it is time that you moved out of the apartment, eh? Sarutobi asked, ruffling his hair. Thank you, Aji-san, Naruto exclaimed. Time skip. 2 days. Naruto stood in front of the house that he was supposed to grow up in. It was located quite a ways inside the forest behind the Hokage mountain. The Sandaime had brought him here in the morning and had left him alone to enter the house. It was not a mansion as Kyuubi had described it. It was just a 2-storied apartment with 4 bedrooms with attached baths, a kitchen, a jutsu library, and an outdoor onsen. When he had asked Kyuubi where he was supposed to train, Kyuubi had refused to tell him, stating that she wanted to surprise him. Later that night, Naruto had finally found information on his father's bloodline in the library. It didn't have a specific name as it didn't show any abnormal transformations or traits. But what it did was something that Naruto was drooling over. It basically allowed his body to never reach an upper cap on his power. While normal ninjas reach a point where they had reached their peak physical condition and had to make a choice between either speed or strength in battle, his bloodline would allow him to train both. It altered the density of his muscles, making them stronger but not increasing their weight by much. That's amazing, Naruto-kun. Now I have no doubt that along with my regenerative abilities you will be able to become strong in a very short time. By the time you leave the academy you will definitely be able to hold your own against most jounin. That's amazing, Kyuubi-chan. Do you really think that it's possible? Don't ever doubt yourself, Naruto-kun. Kyuubi said fiercely. Believe in yourself. I am not saying that you won't make any mistakes, but I will help you push past them and learn from them. Naruto was filled with determination, to grow strong, to defeat anyone who opposes him, and to serve justice to Uchiha Madara. Time skip. 6 months. Naruto was currently training in the secret training room that was below the apartment. He now understood why Kyuubi referred to his house as a mansion. The place was huge. It was under the apartment, underground. It had its entrance disguised as a foot mat, and opened outwards on applying pressure correctly. The room was more than 64 square miles in area. There were trees, a lake, and even a huge waterfall. The whole room was covered in seals. The seals served the dual purpose of strengthening the cavern and also to mask chakra usage. The lake was connected to the waterfall and also had seals that kept the water fresh. For the past 6 months, Naruto, after coming home from another useless day at the academy, would begin his training that Kyuubi-chan had outlined for him. She had told him at the beginning of his training that his chakra pathways would take at the very least 5 months to stabilize and construct completely. It was due to his bloodline that he had to wait for such a long time. Add the fact that Kyuubi had added her own chakra to the mix, she didn't want to take any chances. Naruto was disappointed that he would not be able to learn any awesome jutsu. But Kyuubi had said that he would need to train his body before anything else. So he had done so. Every day Naruto would run for approximately 10 miles at a sprint and then perform stretches, sit-ups, and other toning exercises. Then he would practice his punches and kicks on a tree. Although Naruto couldn't be sure, he was certain that he was the strongest in his class in terms of sheer physical strength. Even Chuji, who belonged to the Akimichi clan, was a little weaker than him. His reflexes were top-notch, but he had no way of estimating his speed. Naruto was anxious to get home after today's class. He would begin using his chakra today and really start training. It was very difficult not to use his chakra, but Kyuubi was always able to keep him in check. Kyuubi-chan, I'm home now, Naruto thought as he walked into his apartment. I know, Naruto-kun. So are you excited? You bet I am. I have been waiting since forever to use my chakra. Now listen carefully, Naruto-kun. Before you manifest your own sword, you need to build up your control and your reserves. It will help you to gain a powerful sword, since it is directly related to your own strength. The more powerful you are, the more powerful the sword. So I need to be an adult to get maximum benefits? Naruto asked, unable to keep the disappointment out of his voice. No, Naruto-kun, from what I know, your mother said that not many people from her clan were able to gain their sword. It can only be done before you reach the age of 10. After that your bloodline remains dormant throughout your life and you become a carrier for your bloodline. So I only have 2 years to get as strong as possible and get my sword? Naruto asked. Yes, although the process of gaining your sword itself will take about 2 months. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Finish your regular training first. We aren't skipping things, we are just adding on to them. Naruto groaned. You are so mean to me, Kyuubi-chan. Kyuubi giggled. After completing his exercises, Naruto took a bath in the lake and putting on some clothes he went to a clearing which had grass on it, and was surrounded by trees. He sat down in a meditative position and concentrated. He tried to bring out the same feeling that he had felt nearly 6 months ago. He found it, taking considerably less time than the last time he tried it. Naruto couldn't be sure, but he felt that it was much stronger than last time though. Much more stronger. He tried bringing it out like last time and found that it was practically impossible to do. No matter how much he concentrated, he couldn't do it. Stop trying to bring it out, Naruto-kun. Calm yourself down and try to sense your power, hear it, try to feel it flow throughout your body. Kyuubi said in a soft and hypnotizing voice. Naruto controlled his breathing, focusing simply on Kyuubi's voice. He could feel it. His chakra flowing throughout his body, inside his muscles, his head, everywhere. Naruto didn't know how long he sat there, but by the time he was done it was already dark inside the training room. How do you feel, Naruto-kun? Kyuubi asked softly. I feel like great, Kyuubi-chan. It's an amazing feeling. Naruto replied softly. Congratulations, Naruto-kun, your chakra pathways have been fully developed. I can finally start teaching you. Kyuubi said enthusiastically. Now then, there's a simple way for you to learn jutsu, practice your chakra control, and catch up on your reading, learning taijutsu stances and anything related to memory while simultaneously working on your body. It will speed up the process of learning drastically. Kyuubi said smugly. How is that possible, Kyuubi-chan? I am going to teach you a kinjutsu, forbidden technique, known as Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, shadow clone technique. It creates solid clones instead of the normal illusions that are taught at the academy. What do you mean by solid clones, Kyuubi-chan? These clones can interact with the environment, can be used as labor, for sparring and practicing taijutsu and basically anything that you want them to do. So how are they supposed to help with my training? Now that is something that you need to experience on your own to understand. Let's get started. Now Naruto-kun, come inside your mindscape and I will show you how to do the technique. Naruto concentrated, and in no time was standing in the same corridor that he had been visiting for the past 6 months. The pipes that were present now were solid looking and had a dark blue, almost black tint to it. The walls were a brilliant white, something that Naruto was still uncomfortable with. It reminded him too much of a hospital. He walked towards the cage and smiled slightly at seeing Kyuubi laying on the grass just staring at him with a soft smile on her face. Naruto had changed the interior of the cage to resemble his apartment, including the training room. Naruto walked up to Kyuubi and held out his hand to her. Kyuubi smiled up at him, took his hand and they started to walk towards the training room. When they reached the room, Kyuubi explained to him the mechanics of the jutsu, and showed him the single-hand seal required for it. Naruto began practicing the technique and after an hour was confident that he could perform the technique in controlled circumstances. Naruto, who was panting slightly having exhausted himself trying to learn the Kage Bunshin, Kyuubi was observing his progress and was feeling quite proud of the blonde. He had managed to learn a Jounin-level technique in a very short time. He was definitely a genius. Looks like you have a firm grasp on the technique. Return to the apartment and try it out in the real world. Naruto nodded, walked up to Kyuubi, hugged her and walked away waving at her, saying see you later tonight, Kyuubi-chan. Kyuubi just stared after him, her face tomato red. She was now certain that she had definitely fallen for her container. She had been feeling funny in his presence ever since she met him, and she could now say that she loved him with absolute certainty. Kyuubi shook her head and banished such thoughts. After all, her Naruto was nowhere near ready to handle a relationship, but she would be damned if she didn't push for it. Naruto opened his eyes and found himself in his favorite clearing. He got up and brought his hands in a single seal and muttered Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. The clearing was surrounded by smoke and suddenly Naruto was surrounded by nearly 200 clones. Alright. Listen up, I need 10 of you to go to the library and read through this year's academy books. 50 of you go and start studying sealing, the rest of you do the leaf balancing exercise. Several clones nodded in his direction and began working. In the meantime, Naruto was going through the katas for his taijutsu style, Shadow Fist. It was a style that preferred speed over power and consisted primarily of redirecting attacks and counterattacking. In its advanced form, it had many forms and techniques that used pressure and vacuum in order to inflict damage onto his opponents. It was difficult to master, as it required the user to remain calm in order to attack successfully. Naruto had a lot of trouble remaining calm at first. He had always been hyperactive and full of energy, but a few long sessions of training calmed him down considerably. Now that he was beginning to learn how to use chakra, he would be able to use Fuinjutsu, sealing arts, to help with his training. He had read his father's journal about his life and had come across many interesting ideas that his father had. He particularly liked the idea of a resistance seal and also a chakra seal. The resistance seal was designed to offer resistance to every movement that the user made. It was a very effective method of training the body. They were much better than training using weights, as the weights generally only developed only one aspect and didn't offer overall development. With the resistance seal, he would not only be training his strength and speed, but also his reflexes and response time. The downside of using the seal was the fact that it used up very large amounts of chakra. Kyuubi had said that he had more than enough chakra to power the seal. The chakra seal was similar to the resistance seal, that it limited the chakra available to the user. The extra chakra was redirected to power the seal itself. Naruto planned on applying the seals on his body tomorrow. He had been reading up on them and practicing the seal design on a dummy for nearly 2 months. With the help of his clones, he was confident that it would work. As the clones were practicing floating leaves, he continued with his katas. After completing his set, he created a few clones and started his spar. He quickly realized 2 facts. While the clones were not as fast or as strong as him, their numbers compensated for that fact wonderfully. He was quickly overwhelmed and was being smacked around all over the place. Right, no sparring against multiple clones yet. Naruto wheezed. His clones smirked against him and Naruto promptly dispelled them. He reviewed his fight and tried to discern any faults in his fighting style. This was very difficult as he was reviewing his own mistakes, and it was hard to see yourself making them. Several hours later, after Naruto had dispelled the clones in groups of 20, he went up to his apartment and started cooking dinner. He didn't use a clone to do this, as it was during this time that he reviewed the day past and made plans for the next day. He was supposed to start a new year at the academy tomorrow and would be changing classes. He had never really made any friends in his class this past year, and although he was not alone anymore, he still wanted some friends. He just hoped that he wouldn't have to share classes with the emo Uchiha anymore. Naruto was sick and tired of his superiority complex. Granted that the Uchiha was much better than others his age, but Naruto was sure that he could beat him, no sweat. Still, Naruto refrained from doing so, as he understood that beating the last true Uchiha would only attract attention towards him. The villagers practically worshipped the ground that the Uchiha walked on. Naruto woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning and got out of his bed. The previous night he and Kyuubi had gone over the academy jutsus that he had read about in the library. Although not of much use in the way of fighting except for the substitution technique, Kawamiri, the transformation, henge, would help with his shopping and when he was walking in the village. It wouldn't fool many of the jounins and skilled chunins, but they never really hated him all that much to begin with. He would now be able to buy his supplies in the village without being harassed. As Kyuubi expected, even with his chakra control exercises, Naruto simply had too much chakra to create an illusionary clone. Kyuubi had said that no matter how good he got with his control, some lower-ranked jutsus would always be out of his reach due to the potency of his chakra. He showered and put on some underwear. Then he created some clones and lay down on the bed. The clones picked up his sealing supplies and started applying the resistance seal on him. The application of the seal took nearly an hour to complete, and on completion, Naruto had to let the seal ink soak into his skin properly and dry. An hour later his clones applied the chakra seal on him as well. The seals were made of a special ink that used the blood of the user and would fade into the skin when dried. Naruto didn't activate the seals as he had to start a new class at the academy today. However, he did activate the chakra seal. As soon as he activated the seal, he felt as if all his power was sucked out of him at once. He felt more tired than he had ever felt in his life. Knowing that this feeling would pass, and he would have to get used to it, he got ready for the academy. He wore a simple black t-shirt with blue shorts that had 3 thin vertical orange stripes on the sides. He was also wearing black ninja sandals that were given to him as a gift by his Aji-san. Naruto walked down the street, ignoring everyone else. He would generally leave as soon as he got up, in order to avoid the crowd. He would then practice in the academy training grounds and would stop well before anyone would show up. Today, however, he was subjected to the usual harsh glares and spiteful comments. Excuse me, a voice startled Naruto, and he looked up to see a girl near his own age standing in front of him. The first thing that he notices about her was her hair. It was a light red color, and was extremely long. It reached to her hips and was tied in a ponytail. She was dressed in a simple blue-colored dress that ended at her knees. She was smiling slightly at him. She had emerald green eyes. Naruto immediately noticed that her eyes didn't hold the same hatred and distrust that Naruto associated with the younger generation. That earned her a few points in his book. How may I help you? Naruto asked politely. Do you know where the ninja academy is? She asked. Before Naruto could reply, an Uchiha, part of the police force of Konoha, stepped in between them. Get lost, scum, before I arrest you for harassment. He shouted at him. The girl tried to speak up in his defense, but quietened down when she noticed him shake his head a little. Naruto glared at the Uchiha, careful not to leak out his killing intent, Ki. Naruto just walked past him and continued on his way to the academy. I wonder who she was. Naruto entered the academy and proceeded towards the board with the new classes. He found his name and walked directly to the class. He was feeling tired after applying the chakra seal and promptly laid his head on the desk and slept. Naruto woke up when he sensed that there was someone entering the room. The 2 years that he had spent on the streets had given him acute senses that were further refined by his training. He looked up to see a ninja come in who was garbed in a standard chunin of Konoha uniform. He had black hair that was tied in a ponytail, dark black eyes and a scar across the bridge of his nose. Naruto looked away as soon as he noticed that he was about to look up at him, and closed his eyes, remaining alert. Naruto opened his eyes when he felt someone take the seat next to him. It was the same girl that had asked for the directions to the academy earlier. She smiled at him and introduced herself. Hi, my name is Mei Terumi. She held out her hand at him expectantly. Naruto Uzumaki. He replied shortly. Naruto was confused. Didn't she know who he was? The ramen topping? She asked, holding back her amusement. Hey! It also means Maelstrom, I'll have you know, Naruto said. Sure, she mocked. Alright class, quiet down. The same instructor that had come in earlier said, My name is Yumino Irika, and I will be your instructor for the next 4 years. As per the orders of the Hokage, this class will remain the same for the coming years. Naruto let out a frustrated sigh after hearing that tidbit of information. He had noticed that Sasuke was in this class as well. There were also an unusually high number of clan heirs in this class. He had noticed that when he had read the class roster. There was Yamanaka Ino, Nara Shikamaru, Akimichi Chuji, Hyuga Hinata, Inuzuka Kiba, Aburame Shino and the King Emo Uchiha Sasuke. The class was full of ninjas that had a fighting chance to graduate. Naruto was sure that the Hokage had been the one who had decided the class placements, the academy teachers would never consent to him being in this class. However, there was one person that piqued his curiosity. Her name was Uchiha Sakiko. Apparently she was the twin sister of Sasuke. At a glance he could say that she was nothing like her stuck-up brother, but Naruto would reserve his judgment for when he got to know her properly. The day passed in the same fashion as the previous years, with one glaring difference. Mei, who was apparently bored, would engage him in conversation as the day progressed. He came to know that she was from Kirigakure, hidden village in the mist, and was forced to flee her home when the Mizukage ordered his ninjas to kill all the persons possessing any bloodline. She was able to escape, and luckily was found by a Konoha Anbu returning from his mission. He had taken her with him, and on her arrival at Konoha, the Hokage was gracious enough to allow her to enter the academy to become a ninja. Naruto had skillfully dodged her own questions that he was uncomfortable in answering and redirected the conversation. At the end of the day, Naruto was surprised when he came to know that she had been given his old apartment by the Hokage to stay at. They went their own way after the academy. Naruto was contemplating his day as he walked towards his house. Naruto really felt that he would like to have Mei as his friend, but he would not get his hopes up. Naruto proceeded to his training room. He took a few deep breaths and calmed himself, and then activated his resistance seal. He immediately felt as if he was standing in quicksand. It was even a little more difficult to breathe. He channeled chakra to the seal in order to make it visible, and created a few clones to help see if the seal was applied correctly. There was a single-digit number at the center of his chest. It was currently showing the value of 1 foot. This number indicated the level that the resistance seal was set at. There were a total of 25 levels. According to his father's journal, he was at 18 when he had stopped using the seal. He hadn't written down the reason why he had stopped, just that he did. After a few minutes, he dispelled his clones and reviewed the memories that he received. Nodding satisfactorily, he collected as much chakra as he could and whispered Kage Bunshin. There was a puff of smoke and he counted about 100 clones. The reduced number of clones was a direct effect of the chakra seal. Although it would limit the amount of chakra flowing through him, its benefits were undeniable. And Kyuubi had informed him that he would need a lot of chakra in order to reach his potential. The chakra seal also had the advantage of increasing one's chakra control. The chakra seal would disrupt the flow of chakra through his coils, and thus, he would need a higher level of control in order to use his jutsu. He ordered his clones to practice the leaf floating exercise for a few hours and then proceed on to tree walking. The feet were said to be hardest place to channel one's chakra. In order to do the tree walking exercise, he would need to apply a small precise amount of chakra to his feet in order to stick to the tree's surface. Too much and he would be blown off, too little and he would not stick altogether. As the clones started their work, Naruto began his physical workout. Naruto barely completed half of his exercises before he collapsed in exhaustion. This didn't deter Naruto, however, and he continued doing his exercises until he passed out. Time skipped 1 month. 1 month had passed since Naruto had met Mei, and Naruto was proud to call her his friend. He had expected her to hate him after she came to know about him from others and saw the way others treated him. He had asked her this very fact and was surprised by her answer. She said that she knew the pain of living alone, without friends, without anyone to support and praise them. It was how the persons who had a bloodline were treated in Kirigakure. Naruto had looked at her with a blank stare for a while and had surprised her with a hug. After the academy, they used to often study and play together. Naruto helped Mei in unlocking her chakra, and showed her how to do the leaf floating exercise. Mei's chakra network was completed after only a week and they had started doing the exercises together. But even after training with Mei, Naruto would still continue on with his own training. Naruto had also noticed that Kyuubi had changed somewhat in the past month. Whenever they would talk, she would lean into his side and rest her head on his shoulder. She would hold his hand every chance she got, and their hugs would last a little longer than normal. He had asked her about this, but she would only look away from him with a blush on her cheeks. After 1 month of steady improvement, Naruto felt that he could perform all his exercises at the same level as before he applied his seal. He could also create approximately 200 clones now. He was mildly surprised that he was progressing this fast, but Kyuubi had explained to him that his chakra was being augmented by her Yukai and his bloodline from his father that had been augmented by her to include regenerative abilities, helped to make the muscles heal faster. Every week he would release both his seals and practice throughout the day to get a feel for his true chakra levels, speed, strength, reflexes, etc. He planned to up his resistance seal today. It was a holiday today, and it would give him a full day to get used to the new level of resistance. Every consecutive level of the seal would offer twice the amount of resistance than the one before it. He ran around his training ground a few times to get a feel for the new resistance. He then created a few clones and started sparring. Elsewhere, Terumi Mei was currently wandering around the village thinking of her blonde friend Naruto Uzumaki. It had been barely a month since she had come to Konoha and met him. She could honestly say that she had never been happier in her life. Granted, her life had never been full of sunshine and flowers earlier, but she truly believed that had she not been his friend she would not be this happy. He was someone who could relate to her pain. Over the past month, she had trained with him often and soon realized one thing. Naruto was much more powerful than he portrayed at the academy. When she had asked about this, Naruto had just shrugged and said that his life would be easier this way. She understood this somewhat. Naruto would help her with exercises and practicing chakra control. This morning, Mei had come to a startling realization. Although Naruto had visited her apartment many times over the past month, either to study or walking her to her home after a particularly hard day of exercising. So, she had gone to the Hokage and asked him where Naruto lived. The Hokage had seemed surprised at her question but told her the address nevertheless. When she reached the place, she saw that Naruto's place was a lot better than she expected. Shrugging, she walked into the walkway leading to the front door and knocked twice. With Naruto. Naruto was currently hanging upside down on the ceiling of the training room while sparring. This improved his concentration and also his chakra control. He was currently sparring against 2 of his clones. This was a very effective exercise as the clones which he created didn't have the resistance seal on them, and it made up for their deficit in speed and strength. He ducked beneath an overhead swipe and turning on his heels planted his foot firmly in the back of the clone, dispelling it. As soon as he righted himself, he had to defend against the second clone that had charged up to him, his hand held in a claw-like gesture. Knowing how painful that particular strike could be, he caught hold of the wrist and brought his other hand up and punched the clone in the throat. He heaved a tired sigh and walked down to the floor. As soon as he reached, however, he sensed the familiar chakra signature enter the house gates. Wondering about his visitor, he quickly exited the training ground and walked towards the door. Opening the door, he saw that Mei was standing in front of him, smiling brightly. "Good morning, Naruto-kun," she greeted. "Good morning to you as well, Mei-chan," Naruto said, waving at her to come inside. "Started training already?" she asked, confused. "Yes, so what's up? Do you know how to swim?" Mei asked. "Huh. No, actually," Naruto said, being caught off guard with her question. "Why do you ask?" "Well, back in Kyuubi I used to swim a lot. I really enjoy swimming, and was wondering if you would like to come with me?" "Sure, I would like to accompany you, if you would teach me how to swim," Naruto said sheepishly. "Of course I will teach you, after all what are friends for?" "Mei, thank you, Mei-chan." After Naruto had grabbed a couple of towels and spare clothes, they proceeded toward the outskirts of the village to a place that Mei had discovered was a great place for swimming. It was a small secluded lake nearly a mile across and was surrounded by rocks on one side and dense trees on the other. The water was clear and reflected the morning sun off the surface brilliantly. Mei took off her clothes, leaving her dressed in a simple dark blue one-piece swimsuit that had frills made in flower designs on it. Naruto tried very hard not to stare at her and busied himself with taking his clothes off. Mei, on the other hand, was flustered herself. Naruto-kun's body was toned beyond perfection. There wasn't a trace of fat on his body, and his stomach was absolutely flat and toned. The way his arm muscles flexed as he took off his t-shirt sent butterflies in her stomach. She blushed a brilliant shade of red as she realized that she was staring. She immediately turned away from him and dived into the lake in order to hide her face. She swam halfway to the lake and came back to see Naruto looking at her intently. Shall we get started?" she asked, flustered. "Sure, sensei," Naruto smiled. Mei spent half an hour of her time explaining breathing techniques and strokes in swimming. Then she spent a couple of hours teaching him how to swim. Naruto was a quick learner and was slowly swimming alongside Mei. "Wow, I've never seen anyone learn to swim this quickly before, Naruto-kun. You weren't kidding when you said that you didn't know how to swim, were you?" Mei asked. Naruto chuckled and got out of the water, changed into new clothes and said, "I'll get us something to eat, Mei-chan. Any preferences?" How about some dango?" Mei answered. "Sure, be right back, Mei-chan." Saying that, Naruto took off at a leisurely pace towards the village and using a quick henge was able to buy some dango and chocolates for them. He walked back to the clearing that Mei was waiting for him at. He looked towards where she was sitting at and immediately was put on edge seeing her surrounded by 3 kids that were a year senior in their academy. He was about to jump in when he saw Mei lash out with her foot at the person directly in front of her. Naruto winced as he saw him go down, clutching his hands to the affected area. After kicking, Mei had turned towards the kid on her right and punched him in the face. The third person backed away fearfully, and with a last glance at Mei's glaring face, ran off screaming. "Nice work, Mei-chan," Naruto chuckled. Mei whirled around and saw Naruto laughing. "When did you get back, Naruto-kun?" she asked. "Long enough to know not to get on your bad side," Naruto said seriously, subconsciously holding his legs close together. Mei giggled slightly, noticing this. "Come on, let's go to my house, it's nearer," Mei said. They spent the rest of the day just talking and spending time with each other. They had decided that they would go for a couple of hours of swimming every day after they were finished with their exercises. They had enjoyed the day together immensely and were looking forward to more days such as this. As night began to fall, Naruto proceeded towards his apartment and resumed his own training. As he slept that night, he had to put up with the relentless teasing of Kyuubi. Even when she was teaching him, she would pass a comment insinuating something perverted and Naruto would be left spluttering, not able to form a response. Naruto was now proficient enough in his taijutsu. He had learned all the forms and could perform all the katas flawlessly. He would just need to keep on practicing it to achieve mastery. Kyuubi had said that he was ready to begin training in elemental ninjutsu. Kyuubi had said that he would first need to find out his elemental affinity using chakra paper. Naruto remembered finding some along with the sealing supplies and made a note to check it sometime tomorrow. He had asked Kyuubi when his Sharingan would be activated, and Kyuubi had explained that he would need to be in a tough fight for him to activate it. It couldn't be done during training and sparring. He had asked where he would find a strong opponent to fight against. He couldn't ask a Konoha ninja to do it. If the villagers were to find out, there would be nothing stopping them from attacking him anymore. After they had finished training, Naruto lied down on the base of a tree and was surprised when Kyuubi lied down beside him. He went to sleep with a content smile on his face. Naruto woke up feeling warm and happy inside. He was filled with excitement to begin a new stage of his training. After he had mastered some techniques for each of his affinities, he would then train in shape manipulation and eventually nature manipulation. After he had completed that, he would be able to create new techniques and would allow him to perform some of the ninjutsus without hand signs. He entered the room that he used for storing the sealing supplies and after some time found a wad of paper that he recognized as chakra paper. He took out one and channeled some of his chakra into it. The paper was torn to shreds, with half of it crumpling into minuscule particles and the rest turning to water and falling down. No traces left whatsoever of the original paper. Naruto was surprised. To even have an affinity at this age was rare, to have 3, and as he suspected very high affinities, was unheard of. While Naruto couldn't help the exclamation that left his lips. Looks like you have 3 chakra affinities, Naruto-kun, and powerful affinities too. You will need to train really hard in order to master them. Kyuubi said. I thought that you were asleep, Kyuubi-chan. Weren't you up the whole night, right? Naruto asked. Kyuubi would generally sleep during the day, and would train Naruto at night. I got to sleep some after you fell asleep. Now then, go to the library and pick at least one jutsu to learn for each element. C-rank jutsus will do. I'll try to help you with them later. Good night, Naruto-kun. Kyuubi said. Good night, Kyuubi-chan. Sweet dreams. Naruto then proceeded towards the library. He had long ago organized the library according to what the scrolls contained. There was a section on ninjutsu, taijutsu, genjutsu, kinjutsu, kenjutsu and other miscellaneous scrolls. The ninjutsu section was further divided into jutsus aligned with the 5 main elements, and another for ninja skills, chakra control exercises and such were placed in this section. The library didn't have any books on Fuinjutsu, they were all placed in a separate room. Naruto spent the next few hours browsing through the various jutsus that he could learn. He eventually selected 3, they worked well individually and were great follow-up jutsus. Naruto grinned, he was steadily getting stronger, and was closer to achieving his goal. Kyuubi had told him to learn the jutsus himself, and then use his clones to perfect and master it. She had said that if he would always use his clones to learn things, it would not develop his learning ability and hinder his perceptive skills. Naruto had given thought to her advice and eventually agreed to it. Naruto had decided on Right-un, Kaminari Shibari, Lightning Release, Thunder Binding, Futon, Daitapa, Wind Release, Great Breakthrough, and Suetun, Teppadama, Water Release, Gunshot. All of them were C-ranked as Kyuubi had suggested. Naruto created 300 clones and ordered them to do the usual tree walking exercise. Naruto then began to practice doing the hand seals for the Daitapa. It took Naruto a full month to get the 3 jutsus chosen by him down. After being able to do the jutsus competently, he would make some extra clones and then they would practice doing the jutsu. Since the clones would use up the chakra available to them in a short while, mostly after performing the jutsu twice or in some cases thrice, he needed to repeatedly make new clones. This further helped him in increasing his chakra reserves. His reserves were now around mid-A and B level with high gen in control. He had gotten more fluid with his taijutsu style, and was now able to fight against 3 clones at a time. His spars now also included ninjutsu as the clones would sometimes do them to catch him off guard. Naruto was happy that he had completed his taijutsu training before they started instructing them at the academy, as learning 2 styles at once was not recommended. He had decided that he would follow the academy taijutsu style during practices, and would keep his primary style to himself. Naruto had noticed that the academy teachers would not teach him correct stances. The teachers for taijutsu were Naruto's previous teachers and always seemed to hate him with a passion. This didn't hinder him as Mei would teach him the correct stances when they got together to train. Naruto estimated that he would need another month to level up his resistance seal as he was not back up to his usual speed with it yet. For strength training, Naruto had begun carrying heavy loads while doing his exercises. He would need to buy weights as soon as he could. He had started on the water walking exercise, and it had taken him 2 days to do it. He was now using his clones to practice it further. He had continued on his swimming exercises and was now as good as Mei was. She had pouted cutely the first time he had beaten her in their many races. He had incorporated swimming in his own training exercise and would often use it to wind down after his rigorous physical training regimen. Naruto was feeling the need to test his abilities against someone. Training all the time was all well and good, but he needed to see how far he had come. True strength only comes out in the heat of battle. Although Mei was strong for their age, she was not anywhere near his level. He wasn't being arrogant in his abilities, just brutally honest. He would spar with Kyuubi, but he couldn't get hurt or hurt someone inside his mindscape. This was very good for learning but not for training and battle simulation. Kyuubi estimated him at mid-chunin with all his seals off. He was currently going towards the academy, running on the rooftops at a slow pace. He had an uneasy feeling ever since he woke up this morning. He would glance around warily as if he was searching for soon as he reached, however, an ANBU stepped in front of him and handed him a scroll before using Sunshin to get away. Naruto read the scroll that was apparently meant for him. Naruto-kun, meet me at the tower after you're done for the day. Hijiran Sarutobi, Sandaime Hokage. Naruto wondered what it was about. Normally he would just come meet him at his house. Shrugging, Naruto went to his class. He spotted Mei and, raising a hand in greeting, walked towards her. They were surprised that day when Iruka-sensei said that they would be having a class evaluation today. The class evaluation consisted of 2 parts, a written exam and the physical. Since they had been taught the basic form of taijutsu, spars were organized as a method to determine scores. Naruto breezed through the written test. He was reading much more complex materials than what was the Nidaime Hokage's name. The class was then escorted outside to the training grounds. They were paired up according to their names, and Naruto was stuck with a random civilian student. Naruto sighed. It seems that he couldn't catch a break. Nevertheless, he was carefully observing the fights were taking place. The Uchiha twins were placed together. No surprise, they had the same last name. But as he was observing the match, he narrowed his eyes. Sasuke was unnecessarily beating her up. Is that all you can do, Sakiko? Sasuke sneered. Sakiko just glared at him. She got into her fighting stance shakily but didn't have time to react as Sasuke was immediately on the offensive. He ducked under her clumsy punch and slammed his hand into her stomach, causing her to wheeze, quickly spun around and kicked her in the back, sending her flying from the ring. TCH. Useless, you are not worthy of carrying the Uchiha name. You should just quit being a ninja before you further shame the name of the Uchiha clan. You who cannot gain the true strength of the Uchiha is no sister of mine. Saying that, he walked away from her. Naruto saw her trying to get up. No one moved to help her. Naruto was surprised by this fact. How come the children treated 2 siblings from the same clan so differently? Naruto was faced with an internal conflict. Either to help Sakiko or to go batshit crazy on the arrogant bastard's ass. Sighing, he calmed himself down and moved to help her up. Hey, can you stand? Naruto asked. Sakiko was breathing erratically, her breaths coming in short gasps. Naruto knelt down to her level and picked her up, placing her on his back. What are you doing? Put me down. She was having a hard time talking. You need to go to the hospital. I'm just taking you there. Naruto replied. I see I can walk there myself, Sakiko stated. Sure you can, Naruto said as he tilted his head to the side to look at her. Sakiko was startled by the maturity and confidence that shone in his eyes. One look at them and she was sure that he would take her to the hospital, whether she wanted to or not. Resigning herself to her fate, she just rested her head on his shoulder and was lulled into unconsciousness by his steady running. It's not so bad, maybe he will agree to be my friend, she thought. Naruto felt her head droop over his shoulder slightly and increased his speed. Using henge, he entered the ninja hospital and asked for the nurse to help Sakiko. The nurse asked him to follow her and told him to tell her everything that he knew about her injuries. Naruto was very specific in his observations and told the nurse exactly what he had seen. If the nurse was surprised by his professionalism, she hid it well. I swear these ninjas get younger each day, she thought, shaking her head. Sakiko was promptly healed and the doctor told Naruto that she would be as good as new tomorrow. Naruto thanked the doctor, left a note for Sakiko and left the hospital as soon as possible. In his opinion, the less time he spent there the better. He then jumped up to the roofs and started heading to the academy. As he arrived, he saw that the class had finished the physical exam. He sighed, another fail for him. The teacher didn't allow him to enter the class. Naruto didn't argue with him on this. He just nodded shortly and left with a quick glance at Mei. Mei nodded back at him and smiled. Might as well see what Aji-san wanted to see me about. Naruto reached the Hokage tower and walked up the stairs. He sat down in the waiting room waiting for the Hokage to call him inside. He could hear a lot of shouting going on behind the closed doors, and Naruto wondered what was going on. Suddenly the floor shook and the doors were rattled with the force of whatever had shaken the floor. Come in, Naruto-kun. Naruto heard the voice of the Hokage call him. Naruto got up nervously and walked towards the doors. As soon as he entered the office, he noticed that there were 2 other occupants in the room besides the Hokage. The older of the 2 women was blonde-haired, which was a couple of shades darker than his. She had a violet rhombus on her forehead. She had brown eyes that were looking at him with something Naruto recognized as sadness. Her blonde hair was tied into 2 loose ponytails using purple bands, the same color as the seal on her forehead. Except for her bangs, which were parted in the middle and fall down the sides of her face. She was wearing a grass-green robe with the kanji for gamble written in black on the back, inside a red circle. Underneath she was wearing a gray, kimono-style blouse with no sleeves, held closed by a broad, dark bluish-gray obi that matches her pants. She was also wearing open-toed sandals with low heels and polish on both her fingernails and toenails. Naruto had only taken a few seconds to make this observation and glanced over at the younger woman. She had shoulder-length black hair with bangs and dark eyes. She was wearing a long bluish-black kimono with white trimmings, held closed by a white obi, and open-toed sandals with low heels. She was also holding a pig that was dressed in red velvet and had a pearl necklace around its neck in her arms. Naruto stepped towards the Hokage and immediately noticed what had made the floor shake earlier. The Hokage's desk was suspiciously absent from its usual place, and was instead resting on the far side of the wall, broken in at least 3 distinct pieces. Yes, Naruto-kun, please sit down, there is something that I think you need to know. This here is Senju Tsunade and her apprentice Shizen. Naruto nodded slightly at them and turned confused eyes towards the Hokage. Sarutobi sighed, looked directly at Naruto and said, Naruto-kun, Tsunade is your godmother. Naruto was frozen in place. He didn't know what to think, how to react. He just stared blankly at the Hokage with unseeing eyes. He got up, bowed politely, and just left the office, stating that he needed to be alone for a while. Well, this could have gone better, Sarutobi stated, staring at the door. You think so? Tsunade snarled sarcastically, spun around and slammed the doors on her way out. The Hokage was sure that he would need to replace the door later. With Tsunade was trying really hard not to break down the damn Hokage tower. She little respect that she had for the position of Hokage was lost with her sensei's act of betrayal. She had arrived at Konoha late last night, tore her way into Sarutobi's room and yanked his head up in the air. She had calmed down later and demanded to know everything that he knew about her godson. Sarutobi had told her everything that he knew about Naruto's situation. Tsunade had come close to killing him at some points in the story and had looked down, hiding her eyes at some. Shizen was sobbing openly at the cruelty of Naruto's life. After Sarutobi had finished his tale, Tsunade had immediately gone towards Naruto's apartment. Shizen had caught up with her and told her to observe him first for a day. So they had spent the day observing him. She had to use her utmost skills to remain hidden from him. The first time she had been spotted as soon as she had entered his field of mental vision, the area around a person that he is completely aware of. Naruto had a field of awareness of about 10 meters as far as she could tell. Any closer and he would begin to get restless. She was feeling very proud of her godson when she saw that he had helped out a girl in his class, when no one else would. She had been confused at first seeing him use henge to enter the hospital, but understood it afterwards. Her temper had reached its breaking point when she saw that the teacher had thrown him out of the class. She had immediately gone to the Hokage and began threatening him with death if he would stop her from taking him away from Konoha. She had been nervous of his reaction when he would find out about her being his godmother. She had seen that he didn't interact much with others his own age and only seemed to talk with a pretty girl that was always with him. She had been surprised when he had first met her. He had seemed to be evaluating her, as if he was going to fight her. She watched as he seemed to close off him emotions and walked away from the office. She had contemplated following him but held back, giving him time to sort out his own feelings. Her talking to him might just antagonize him towards her. With Naruto didn't know how to feel at the moment. He had placed his absolute trust in his Aji. No, Hokage-sama. It would take a long time for him to trust him again, if ever. He wasn't sure about his godmother. Granted, it was not her fault for abandoning him, but she should have tried harder. He would deal with her later. He was too worked up to think clearly. He decided to go towards his Amaze training field, the one with the lake. He took a few deep breaths and began running laps around the lake. Mei arrived after some time and immediately noticed that something was bothering her friend. He was distracted and was leaving openings in his style that she knew he wouldn't make usually. She signaled for him to stop, walked over to a tree stump and sat down beside it. She patted the ground next to her. Naruto hesitated for a few seconds and then sat down beside her. What's bothering you, Naruto? It's nothing. Naruto replied immediately. You need to talk about it, Naruto. I'm your friend, aren't I? Please tell me what's bothering you. Naruto just looked at her and then told her everything that had happened after he had entered the Hokage tower. Well, in my opinion, you should give your godmother a chance, Naruto. She is someone that your parents trusted enough that they wouldn't mind raising you if something happened to them. But I can't just accept her into my life, Mei-chan. You know how I don't trust anyone, they always hurt you afterwards. Naruto felt completely betrayed by the Hokage. I'm going to head home now, Mei-chan, see you tomorrow. Naruto tried smiling but it came out as a grimace. Mei watched sadly as Naruto walked away and prayed that everything would work out for him. As Naruto reached his apartment, he saw that Tsunade as well as Shizen was standing there waiting for him. Naruto glanced at Tsunade and was surprised to see that her eyes were slightly misty. Naruto sighed. He really couldn't place the blame on her, he realized that, but a childish part of him just couldn't let the grudge go. Unless, come inside, Tsunade-san. Tsunade nodded and they entered the apartment. Tsunade was surprised when he led her to his training ground. She looked at Shizen hoping that she could tell her what's going on, but she seemed to be as lost as she was. Naruto, I'm real. Tsunade started. We'll talk later, Tsunade-san. Right now I have a request to make. What do you need, Naruto? Please fight me. What? Why? I need to know something. After that I promise that we will talk. Naruto saw Tsunade hesitate for a moment before she shook her head resignedly and got into a loose fighting stance. Naruto shot at her directly. Tsunade had expected that and had brought her arm in a block to counter his punch. He doesn't look it, but the brat's strong. This continued for some time. Naruto realized that he would be getting nowhere with his seals on. His godmother seemed like she hadn't let her skills slip, being away from ninja life for these many years. Naruto backed away from her and back-flipped some distance away. Tsunade just waited for him to make his next move. Naruto brought his hands together in the ram's seal and whispered Kai, release, twice in quick succession. Nothing seemed to happen for a while, but then his chakra flared powerfully before he brought it back under his control. Tsunade watched in slack-jawed amazement as her godson stood there surrounded by his own chakra. Even ignoring the fact that it was visible clearly by the naked eye, its color was totally different from regular chakra. It was a very deep blue in color. It would almost appear black in insufficient light, and the amount, no academy student should have such reserves. They were at least A and B level. Tsunade was getting worried for her godson. After all, he was barely 9, and as such his body shouldn't be developed enough to handle such amounts of chakra. Naruto, stop this at once, your body will not be able to handle such power. Tsunade said, hoping that he would stop immediately so that she could check on him. Who knows how long he had been practicing in the same manner. Don't worry, Tsunade-san, I am more than capable of handling my own power. Naruto resumed the stance for his original taijutsu style, the Shadow Fist. Naruto charged at her again. The brat might be powerful, but he has a one-track mind. He needs to mix things up if he will ever win his battles, Tsunade thought, and again brought her hands up to block his strike. Just as it was going to connect, he vanished from her sights. Wah! Tsunade had almost no time to block Naruto, who was at her side in mid-motion for a punch. She blocked his strike, but slid a few steps back from the sheer power of the strike. God damn, the brat's punches are nothing to scoff at. Tsunade immediately channeled chakra into her muscles to help take blows and reduce their effectiveness. They clashed with each other for approximately 5 minutes, and Tsunade realized that she was finding it increasingly difficult to remain on the defensive. Naruto suddenly appeared beside her, right in her blind spot, and she reacted reflexively. She shot her hand forward, catching Naruto in the chest and sending him sprawling backwards. Oh no! Tsunade muttered and shot forward to check him. She stopped short, however, when he shakily got up on his feet. His eyes were covered by his hair, and he seemed that he had passed out. Suddenly chakra exploded outwards from him. This chakra was definitely black in color, weaker than before but still enough. He lifted his face and looked directly at her. He then began going through hand signs and called out Futon, Daitapa, wind release, great breakthrough. A concentrated blast of air headed towards Tsunade. She was so shocked that she didn't have time to put up her guard and was blasted back approximately 20 meters. I need to finish this fight fast, Tsunade muttered to herself. She then engaged him in taijutsu, and using her advanced controls sent a few bursts of lightning chakra into him. It would render him unable to move. Naruto slumped bonelessly to the ground and gazed up at her when she walked up to him. He smiled slightly at her, muttered, "You sure are strong, Bachan," and promptly slumped into unconsciousness. Shizen, get Naruto up to the bedroom. He needs to rest. Shizen, who wore an expression of awe and amazement on her face, just nodded mutely and picked Naruto up. She could hardly believe that an academy student had fought her sensei and fought damn well. Heck, she wondered who would win if she were to fight him. He looks too cute while sleeping. I can hardly believe that he was this strong. Tsunade followed Shizen upstairs and checked him over for some injuries. She observed that some of the small cuts and scrapes had already started healing and his muscles that were strained were starting to relax. Tsunade was amazed at the medical marvel that was taking place in front of her. She just tucked him in and with a last glance at him from the door, she headed downstairs, deciding that she would ask him what exactly happened today later. Naruto sat down with Tsunade the next morning and talked. They talked well past lunchtime and were able to understand each other much better. Naruto had spent the whole night ranting and raving at Kyuubi about what had happened that day, and although Kyuubi herself was angered that the Hokage would do something to Naruto, she realized that getting angry herself wouldn't help Naruto. So, she had listened patiently, told him her views on the matter, and just held him close to herself when she thought that he looked like he needed a hug. By the time Naruto woke up, he was considerably calmer and placed the blame where it belonged. He had decided that he would give his godmother a chance. It would be helpful for both him as well as her. Shizen had told Naruto of Tsunade's past before he had sat down to talk with her, and Naruto found out that he really couldn't blame her for leaving Konoha. Losing your fiancé, your brother and your godson to the same village tends to inspire such feelings towards the village. Naruto couldn't help but feel sympathetic and had ended the discussion with giving Tsunade a huge hug. So Naruto-kun, care to tell me why you wanted to fight me yesterday? Tsunade asked. I wanted to gauge my progress with my training, and also by fighting you I was able to stem my bad feelings towards you, Naruto replied honestly. Tsunade was surprised by the maturity shown by him. Then again, he had been living by himself for nearly a year now, so that had to account for something. I don't know if Sarutobi has told you yet, but the Kyuubi was not defeated by your father. Although he was strong, he couldn't defeat the Kyuubi decisively. So he sealed her within me. I know. Naruto finished cutting across Tsunade's sentence. How do you know that? Kushina told me that Kyuubi was not what everyone believed it to be, and was actually a nice person, but its actions that day doesn't exactly reassure you, Tsunade said. Better get comfortable, Bachan. This is going to take some time. With that, Naruto began his explanation, starting from where he had been having strange dreams right up until yesterday morning. Tsunade was fuming at the life that Naruto had been living up until now. She was happy, however, that he seemed to have at least one friend. Naruto had then asked her if she would help him in his training. Tsunade had happily agreed to that. It was not as if she had anything better to do anyways. She could teach Shizen when Naruto was at the academy and Naruto when he got home. She knew that Naruto had to get strong as soon as possible, while keeping people in Konoha and thus everywhere ignorant of his true abilities. He needed to be at least Jounin level before he could start showing his abilities. Then he would be able to hold off some of the people that would come after him, both due to his history with Madara and due to the grudges against him due to his parents. As soon as she had received Sarutobi's letter, she had sent an urgent message to Jiraiya telling him and asking him to come to Konoha. He was supposed to be Naruto's godfather, but he had declined the position, stating that he was too valuable to Konoha as its spy master and could better help Naruto by giving him valuable information. Tsunade had been both proud and angry at him after he made this comment. Proud of him for actually thinking of his responsibilities before blindly accepting new ones, and angry at him for putting Konoha above Naruto. After meeting Naruto and talking to him, she was glad that she had contacted him. Naruto would need any information that he could get, and Tsunade was certain that Jiraiya would have something for Naruto. Jiraiya would also be invaluable in teaching Naruto. While she was considered a Sannin as well as her teammates, the fact was that she was much more of a medic than a frontline fighter. She knew for a fact that she would lose against Jiraiya in a one-on-one fight, but it would be a cold day in hell before she let him know that. Naruto had all the markings of an incredible ninja, and she would make sure that her godson would achieve his potential and surpass it if she had anything to say about it. Naruto was sitting down on the couch reading a random novel when he felt a familiar chakra signature on his doorstep. He was confused, however, by the second signature that was accompanying Mei. Naruto opened the door and came face to face with Mei and Sakiko. He was surprised by her presence here, but he smiled it off and invited both of them in. "How are you feeling, Naruto-kun? You missed the academy today," Mei stated with a worried glance at her friend. "Don't worry, Mei-chan, I sorted out my differences and am much happier than I was yesterday," Naruto stated. "Naruto-san, I would like to thank you for your help yesterday," Sakiko said with a slight bow. "Please stand up, Sakiko-san, I did what anyone should have done." "But you are welcome." Naruto smiled at her. "She asked me if she could train with us after the academy. I told her I didn't have a problem with it if you didn't," Mei stated cheerfully. Sakiko turned startled eyes towards Mei before she glanced at Naruto and looked at her feet. "Of course you can join us," Naruto stated. Sakiko whipped her head up to look at him, surprise clearly evident in her eyes. "I don't know why everyone ignores you. Even though you are an Uchiha, you are constantly overlooked, and I suspect that you don't like your brother much." Naruto ended his statement phrased as a question. Sakiko's eyes were brimming with unshed tears as she was reminded of her situation again. She was born with a defect that rendered her unable to ever gain the Sharingan, the Uchiha clan's pride. Growing up, she was constantly ignored by her father, and as he grew up, Itachi had always been pleasant to her, more so than to Sasuke, but he wasn't around the house much due to his ANBU duties. The only person that she could honestly say loved her unconditionally was her mother. She had joined the academy in the hopes of pleasing her father. She had done well for herself at the academy, but as time went on she realized that she was steadily losing ground and would no longer be able to keep up with her brother. No, he had lost that title long ago. She would now only refer to him as Sasuke. She had wondered about that, and had found out that he was being trained by her father after the academy. Approximately 4 months after she started at the academy, her whole clan had been massacred at the hands of her elder brother Itachi. She hadn't been present when it had happened. She was at the hospital, recovering after her spar with Sasuke. She had been devastated after she found out, not so much for the Uchiha clan as a whole, not even for her father or brother, but for her mother. The only one that cared for her had been ripped away from her. After that, she had simply lost her will to be a ninja. She had not attended the academy for almost 2 months. Sasuke had become even more insufferable after the massacre. She had lived in a separate house ever since then. Over her personal Sabbath of 2 months, she had realized that there was nothing else that she could do with her life. Even though Sasuke was going to be the clan head when he graduated from the academy, she had suspected that she would be banished from the clan as soon as he was able to. He had stated as much yesterday. So she would be a clanless orphan with no means to support herself. So she had gone to the Hokage and requested to be allowed to continue at the academy. She had unfortunately been placed in the same class as Sasuke. She had gone to the Hokage again, but he had sat her down and explained that her current class was the one class that was going to produce the most graduates, and her chances of becoming a ninja would improve if she stayed in this class. So she had relented. She had failed to make any friends in the academy, not that she tried very hard to make some. Almost all the girls were busy swooning over Sasuke and would imitate Sasuke in belittling her. She didn't show it, but their comments hurt. There were a few people that she thought that she could be friends with, but they each had their own circle of friends, and she was too nervous to approach any of them. All that had changed when Naruto had helped her yesterday. She had been reviewing all of her interactions with him over the semester, and found that he had always been kind to her. She had thought long and hard about the chance that she had now, she would try to become his friend, and if he rebuffed her, she didn't want to think about that. When she had arrived at the academy the next day, she had immediately sought after Naruto. She had been disappointed when he didn't show up. She had noticed that Naruto's friend Mei Terumi had been distracted the whole day. She couldn't help but glance at her several times during the day, wondering how it would be if she was the one that was Naruto's friend. She had been surprised when Mei had sat down next to her and started up a conversation. Sometime during the conversation, Mei had mentioned that she and Naruto would train together every day after the academy was let out. Before she could think about it, she had asked her if she would mind if she joined them sometimes. Mei had just smiled at her and told her that she didn't mind, but she would need to ask Naruto about it. When Naruto had just agreed to her request as if there was nothing to think about, she had been filled a wonderful sense of lightedness, as if a great weight had been lifted from her shoulders. A culmination of her high emotions, her reminiscing and her happiness led her to do something that she never would be bold enough to do otherwise. She flung herself at Naruto and wrapped her arms around him, crying tears of happiness into his chest. Naruto was startled when she had flung herself at him. He had just agreed to train with her, and the next thing he knew, he had a crying girl in his arms. Instincts kicking in, he just held her and allowed her to get control over her emotions, rubbing her back gently. After some time, she just rubbed her eyes on his shirt and stepped away from him. "I'm sorry," Sakiko stated, looking in every direction but straight at Naruto. "Don't worry your pretty head over it, Sakiko-san," Naruto said as he sat down on the couch. Sakiko blushed faintly, shook her head and sat down on the chair. "So why didn't you come to the academy today, Naruto-kun?" Mei asked as she sat down beside Naruto on the couch. "I had a long talk with my godmother." "You were right, Mei-chan. I'm glad that I decided to follow your advice, and she is a nice enough person, strong too. So where is she?" Mei asked, looking around as if expecting her to just pop up somewhere in the room. "She said that she had some unfinished business to discuss with the Hokage. She'll be back later tonight." Saying that, Naruto got up and walked towards his bedroom. "I'll be back in a few minutes. I just need to grab a few things before we leave for training." Naruto, Mei and Sakiko proceeded to the training ground, and they spent that day mostly talking and determining each other's skills, areas they felt that they needed to work on, and planning future training sessions. Naruto didn't like deceiving his friends about his true level of strength, but just looked at it as a necessity in order to protect his friends. It was a well-known fact that Mei considered Naruto to be his friend. The villagers would sometimes call her names, and sometimes would settle for glaring at her. It was nowhere near as bad as Naruto was treated, but Naruto still felt bad about it. Mei just waved his apologies aside and told him not to worry about it. Naruto was sure that it wouldn't take much time for them to figure out that Sakiko had joined their little group as well. They had warned her about this fact. She had just shrugged and said that whatever the village thinks didn't bother her that much. As long as she had someone that she could call a friend, it was worth it. Naruto and Mei could certainly relate to that. Time skip 4 months. Over the past 4 months, Sakiko had improved in heaps and bounds. She was almost at the same level as Mei was. Sometime during these 4 months, Sakiko had told the both of them about her childhood, and needless to say, they had vowed to never ever break their friendship with each other. Mei had even asked her to move in with her, stating that her apartment had an empty room and that she would be happy if she would accept to live with her. Sakiko had accepted and was now much happier for it. She had even told them about her disability in acquiring the Sharingan. After knowing about that, Naruto had asked Tsunade to check up on her and see if she could do anything. Needless to say, Tsunade hadn't gained her title as the best medic in the world on a fluke. She was able to heal her eyes and told her that they were back to normal, and it would be possible for her to gain the Sharingan in time. Sakiko had thanked Naruto and Tsunade profusely. Naruto had asked her if she would like to tell Sasuke about this, and see if he would change his mind about banishing her from the clan. Sakiko had flatly refused, saying that she wanted nothing to do with the Uchiha clan anymore. They had seen Naruto train one day and were amazed at the skills shown by their friend. They could barely follow his movements. The only time that they could tell anything was when Naruto separated from his opponent, either to catch a break or, as was often the case, to use ninjutsu. The trio of ninja trainees were currently sparring against each other. Mei and Sakiko against Naruto. Naruto was able to easily outmaneuver them, sliding away from their attacks with apparent ease, taking advantage of every opening that they left in their guards. He jumped above a leg sweep from Sakiko and saw that Mei was charging towards him with her fist cocked back. He turned in midair, grabbing her wrist, and then using her own momentum against her, he redirected her towards a nearby tree, sending her sprawling towards it. He just landed beside Sakiko, who was busy staring at the spectacle before her. "Never lose your focus, Sakiko-chan," Naruto said before incapacitating her by holding a kunai at her throat. "Man, no matter how hard we try, we never get to beat you. One of these days I'm going to kick your ass so bad that you will remember it for a long time." Mei grumbled as she came walking towards them. "You might not realize this, but you improve a bit every day, both individually and as a team. I have to try harder each day to beat you," Naruto stated. "But you always look as if you are hardly trying. It's as if whatever we do you just counter it, without showing surprise. Are we really that weak?" Mei asked. She had wondered about this fact ever since Naruto had trained with her, but never had the courage to ask him. Today at the academy, a kid in their class had asked a seemingly innocent question. He had asked why there were so many academy students, but there were not that many jounin in the village. Iruka-sensei had gazed at the eager expressions of the class, sighed, and told a very grim tale. He told them that many of the genins died in their career. The class had been understandably shocked and subdued that day. Mei was always worried that if she didn't grow strong along with Naruto-kun, he would just leave her in the dust. She knew that he would try his hardest to be there for her, and would undoubtedly be her friend. But if they were a different rank, they would no longer have any common ground, and would simply not spend as much time with her. She didn't admit it out loud, but she was a little intimidated the one time that Naruto had gone all out against Tsunade. That's not the case at all, Mei-chan, Naruto said, but... She was silenced as Naruto placed his finger on her lips. It is the ninja way, Mei-chan. Never let your opponent know what is going on in your mind. Never show pain, or even satisfaction on your face. Never let your emotions show on your face during battle. A skilled opponent might be able to talk you into circles long enough for you to leave an opening that he can exploit. Naruto explained. Both of the girls were listening to what Naruto had to say with rapt attention. They decided that they would follow his advice as best they could, though I have to admit that I am far more powerful than you can imagine, Naruto stated cheekily. Mei just chuckled and swiped her hand at him half-heartedly. Sakiko giggled lightly. Suddenly Naruto sensed something approaching him and acting on instinct pushed Mei and Sakiko away from him. He had used all his power, and thus they were able to avoid the blast resulting from an exploding note attached to a kunai that was thrown at their position. Naruto-kun! Shouted the two girls. Well, what do we have here? A couple Kyuubi Academy students practicing with the demon brat, huh? Mie and Sakiko turned their heads rapidly from sides searching for the assailant. Their attention was then drawn towards the center of the blast, where Naruto was standing, worry for their friend etched onto their faces. With Naruto, as soon as Naruto had sensed something, he had seen the end of paper trailing behind a kunai headed for his position. He pushed his friends away to save them from the inevitable blast, and then released his seals just as the kunai impacted the ground before him. His subsequent release of chakra had been masked by the force of the explosion. He jumped back, made a shadow clone that took his place, and hid in the trees, searching for whoever had attacked them. The ninja was good, he couldn't detect him. Naruto was beginning to feel a little bit of fear. He wasn't sure if he could take on the ninja and protect his friends at the same time. He spotted someone walking into the clearing, and just by looking at him Naruto knew that he was in for a tough fight. The man was wearing a standard Konoha Jounin uniform. Naruto cursed inwardly. He thought that they were secluded enough that no one could find them here. He had made sure every day that no one followed them to this location. He saw that the Jounin was walking deliberately towards Mei and Sakiko, who were staring at the remnants of the place where they believed him to be. He saw the Jounin tense slightly and Naruto immediately burst into action. Looks like all the training that you didn't help the demon at all, huh? I don't have anything against you personally, but you are a liability, and needs to be dealt with. The Jounin stated and charged towards them. Just as he was about to reach them, a giant gust of wind blew in front of them and slammed the Jounin into a nearby tree after he had flown for about 50 meters. They looked ahead of them and saw Naruto leaping down from a tree. He stopped directly in front of them. I need the both of you to go get Tsunade or Shizen here. Tell them what happened. I'll keep him off your back. Now go. No. You can't fight him alone, Naruto-kun. Please, we'll go together, please. Sakiko pleaded. No. I don't have time. Sakiko-chan, please understand. Go with Mei-chan. I can't forgive myself if something were to happen to you too. Naruto said, looking pleadingly at Mei. Damn you brat, that hurt. Naruto got into his fighting stance and looked towards the Jounin, who had a thin trail of blood going down one side of his mouth. The Jounin suddenly seemed to phase in front of him and sent Naruto flying back into a tree with a vicious backhand to his face. Naruto coughed out some blood and tried standing after the impact. The Jounin just sneered at him. He walked up to him and kicked him in the stomach, hard. Naruto was lifted a few feet off the ground, and the Jounin again punched him, sending him flying. Damn it! He's too strong. At this rate I'll really Kyuubi-chan, Mei-chan, Sakiko-chan. Naruto was suddenly filled with determination. He got up on his feet, albeit unsteadily, and charged at the Jounin. Naruto fought with everything that he had. He put his training with Tsunade to good use, blocking some of the Jounin's punches, but he soon realized that he just wasn't able to keep up. He was too weak from his initial beatdown. The Jounin chuckled evilly, staring down at him. He was standing up but was unable to move. His whole body ached. His regeneration was working, but it wasn't fast enough. The Jounin went through some hand signs, concentrated a massive amount of chakra, and shouted out Katan, Karyudan, Fire Dragon Projectile, with the Jounin. Just as he finished shouting his technique, he panted a bit, and went down on his knees. He had seriously underestimated the demon brat. Although he had dominated throughout the fight, he had been hit several times. He had just been promoted to Jounin, and he had promised himself a long time ago that when he was made Jounin he would kill the demon brat that had killed so many during that night 8 years ago. And today was the day that he finally accomplished his goal. He watched with satisfaction as his fire dragon approached its victim. Suddenly he saw that the demon was engulfed in a strange chakra that was black in color. He watched as he dodged his technique and suddenly appeared in front of him, What he saw shook him to his very core. His eyes had totally changed. Naruto just stared wide-eyed, trembling at his approaching death. He was rooted to the spot, unable to do anything. Damn it, if only it had been stronger. Naruto-kun! Naruto suddenly felt chakra returning to him, and suddenly his perception of the world changed. He could see things with clarity that he hadn't been able to before. He picked up subtle movements around him. He could clearly see the fire dragon approach him, much more slowly than before. He tried moving and found that he was able to do so easily. He saw that the person who attacked him was on his knees and out of breath. He rushed towards his position. He got directly in front of him and backhanded him towards a rock in the clearing. The jounin impacted with the stone, making a rough crater. Naruto didn't let up on his attack. He again got in front of him, ducked under his punch, and opening his palm straight, fingers slightly bent, moving it in a spiral fashion, punched him with all his might in the stomach, whispering, "Atsuryoka Sudaraiki, pressure strike." The rock, which had already weakened slightly by his earlier attack, shattered completely, and the jounin was sent crumpling to the ground at Naruto's feet, coughing up vast amounts of blood. Naruto just stared at him dispassionately, and left the clearing, heading in the direction of his house. He hadn't gone far away before he saw his Bachan, closely followed by Mei and Sakiko, heading towards him. He just smiled at them and promptly slipped into unconsciousness. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto woke up, blinking rapidly. He looked at his surroundings and realized that he was in his mindscape. Looking around for Kyuubi, he frowned when he couldn't see her anywhere. Normally she would be waiting for him to wake up. He got up and began searching for her. He entered the house and immediately saw that Kyuubi was laid out on the couch. Naruto was shocked to see that she appeared to be completely exhausted and was breathing quite heavily. "Kyuubi-chan, what happened?" Naruto asked as he sat down beside her and took her hand in his. Kyuubi smiled up at him gently, and picking herself up a little bit motioned Naruto to get behind her. Naruto understood what she wanted and sat down on the couch and laid Kyuubi's head in his lap. He automatically began running his hands through her hair. Kyuubi just enjoyed the position she was in. Closing her eyes, she sighed in contentment. She got up and laid her back against Naruto. She took his arms in hers and wrapped them around herself. Naruto had a faint blush on his cheeks that she completely missed. "Kyuubi-chan, why were you so exhausted earlier?" Naruto asked after some time, concern laced in his voice. "When I gave you the Sharingan, there was something that I left out. The Sharingan is cursed. When the user masters the Sharingan and gains its final form, the user steadily loses his eyesight the more he uses its powers. The Sharingan of the Uchiha is a double-edged sword. While it grants the user amazing abilities, it comes at the cost of losing one's vision. I knew of a way to get rid of this curse. I simply needed to use my chakra to make a final change to it. I just miscalculated the amount of chakra that would be required. I used up about 8 taels of my chakra. That was the reason that I was so exhausted." Kyuubi stated, tensing slightly, afraid of Naruto's reaction. She knew from previous experience that the chakra used by her would forever be lost to her. The seal prevented her from restoring her chakra. She knew that Naruto was also aware of this fact. She really didn't want to tell him what she had done. Naruto would definitely get mad at her. She sighed. She would just have to tell him and wait for the consequences. 8 taels? But why? I know you are aware that you can't replenish your power while sealed, so why? Naruto asked, confused. The Sharingan had a second level, Naruto-kun. It's called the Mangekyo Sharingan. The longer that you use this level, the more you are blinded. The only way for the user to overcome this disability is to take the eyes of a blood relative that has also awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan. But even this level is a bridge between the Sharingan and the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, the true and final form of the Sharingan. Kyuubi said. Kyuubi noticed the shocked look on his face, and seeing that he was about to argue with her, she hastily begun to continue her story. The basis of this fact is that the Sharingan requires another chakra source, one that is similar to the user's chakra, in order to gain stability and finish its evolution into the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. What I did ensured that whenever you gain the Mangekyo Sharingan, it would not stay in that stage and directly transcend to the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. Kyuubi said, letting out her breath after her monologue. How do you get the Mangekyo Sharingan? Naruto asked. Kyuubi was happy that Naruto had not blamed her for not informing him of her plans. She knew that had she told him, he would have flatly refused her offer and said that he would find another way. Kyuubi always admired his sense of righteousness and his fierce loyalty to those that he considered friends. There are 2 ways to gain the Mangekyo, Naruto-kun. Though the Uchiha believe that to gain the Mangekyo you need to kill your closest friend, the other way is for the user to gain complete mastery over the Sharingan. This, however, takes a lot of time and training. With me helping you master the Sharingan, it would take you about 5 to 6 years, Kyuubi said. You should rest, Kyuubi-chan. You're still a little tired. Naruto said. I will, Naruto-kun. But first you have to show me your Sharingan. Kyuubi said, spinning around in his arms and facing him directly, with an excited gleam in her eyes. What do you mean, Kyuubi-chan? Why would my Sharingan be any different? Naruto asked with a confused expression on his face. Well, I altered the Sharingan a bit. I improved it, you could say. Just know that your Sharingan, while having the same powers as the Uchiha, will be much better, and should you fight against another Sharingan wielder, you would have a slight advantage. Now hurry up, I wanna see, Kyuubi said with a childlike pout on her face. Naruto chuckled at the face that Kyuubi was making and channeled chakra into his eyes. He saw that he had the same perception of the world as he had when he was fighting earlier. Looking at Kyuubi, he saw that she was looking at his eyes in wonder and amazement. Getting curious himself, he turned his head and looked at the mirror behind the couch. When he saw his eyes, he was shocked and frankly, a bit unnerved. His sclera had turned completely black. His irises were a bright golden yellow with one tomo similar to the Sharingan in each eye. He stared entranced into his eyes for quite some time, before Kyuubi caught hold of his chin and peered into his eyes for a long time. Seemingly in a trance, she was leaning closer to his face. Naruto just stared wide-eyed at Kyuubi's actions, and before he realized it, he had just received his first proper kiss. Kyuubi broke contact almost immediately, as if realizing her actions, and blushed an amazing shade of red, so much so that her whole face including her neck was red. That was what I mean is Kyuubi stuttered, her face still glowing. Kyuubi was mortified. She just up and kissed Naruto on the lips. Sure, she planned to do that, and so much more. But this was a few years before she planned to tell him. She decided to just tell him, and leave the rest up to him. Letting out a deep breath, she said, "Naruto-kun, what I meant to say is that I love you." She faltered slightly at the end, her blush intensifying. Naruto wasn't doing much better than her. He had a huge blush adorning his cheeks, and was staring at her in slight shock. He stared at Kyuubi's face that was looking up at him expectantly with a slight hint of fear and nervousness. Naruto just pulled her in for a hug, and spoke to her, his voice slightly muffled by her hair. "You're always there for me, always helping me selflessly. I never thought that you would feel the same way about me. At first I thought that you helped me for getting revenge on Madara, but over the past year I realized that you genuinely wanted to help me. I was happy to be your friend. Just being with you together made the whole training that I'm going through worthwhile. I would always get happy whenever you praised me or mastering a jutsu or completing my stances. What I'm trying to say is that Kyuubi-chan, that I love you too," Naruto said, his eyes still sporting his Sharingan shining with emotion. Naruto watched as Kyuubi's expression gradually changed from nervous and fearful to hopeful before it softened, and teared up a bit at Naruto's words before erupting into pure joy at Naruto's ending statement. Kyuubi just hugged him close, and after some time, Naruto plucked up his courage and leaning forward captured her lips in a soft and innocent kiss. They didn't know how long they were laid out on the couch, lying together in each other's arms, kissing softly after some time of being apart. They didn't say anything, just enjoying the moment, happy that they would be able to continue doing this for a long time to come. Tsunade was rushing towards the clearing that Mei and Sakiko had told her about. She had been alarmed when they had told her that they were attacked by a Konoha ninja. She had looked at their crying, distraught faces as they told her that Naruto was still fighting him. She had immediately shot towards the training ground, Mei and Sakiko hot on her heels. When she was about to reach, she saw a figure that she recognized immediately. Naruto was walking towards her position. She was filled with relief that he was at least well enough for him to walk, and then she saw him collapse. She reached him and began running a diagnostic check on him. Apart from some internal bleeding, some cracked ribs and a concussion, he was uninjured. She was amazed that he had come out of battle with a ninja sporting only such injuries. She turned towards Mei and Sakiko, who were crying silently, and smiled at them. "Don't worry, girls, Naruto's going to be just fine. He will be back to normal by this time tomorrow," Tsunade said. Tsunade then sensed a chakra signature not far away from their location. She narrowed her eyes. "Stay here with him, and don't move," she ordered the two girls, and continued silently towards the signature. When she reached the clearing, she saw that there was a lone ninja, a jounin, judging by his appearance, that was hunched over on all fours, coughing out blood violently. Tsunade quelled her immediate urge to kill him outright. She needed to question his motives and see if he was acting on his own or was some part of a group. She walked up to him, questioned him, and killed him with a swift strike to his heart. She returned towards where she had left Naruto, and together the four of them went home. On arriving, Mei and Sakiko refused to let Naruto out of their sights. Tsunade understood that they might be training to be a ninja, but they were still kids. Such an event was bound to change them and strengthen their friendship. Mei and Sakiko watched as Naruto slept on his bed. Tsunade had offered them to stay the night, and given them rooms. Mei watched as Sakiko watched Naruto, crying slightly but with a determined glint in her eye. She knew how she felt. It was the same as she felt. Utterly useless. Naruto had always protected them, be it from harsh words from the villagers or from bullies. He was their best friend, and if she was honest to herself, she wished that they could be more than friends. Mei was surprised when Sakiko began to stroke Naruto's hair, and then she came to a sudden realization. Sakiko might feel the same way about Naruto as well. After they had shifted in together, they had become the best of friends. She knew that Naruto was the heir to 2 clans. Now she just had to confirm if Konoha had the CRA for bloodline clans with less number of members. If they did, she had every intention of dating Naruto. She grinned slightly. She would be having a long talk with Sakiko after they got home. Time skip. Next morning, Naruto woke up the next day and was not surprised to see that he was at his house. He was surprised, however, by the presence of his 2 friends who had apparently fallen asleep waiting for him to wake up. He was touched by their concern for him. He smiled softly at them and picked them up and placed them on his bed. Just as he turned towards the door, he saw that his Bachan was also there in his room, sitting on the couch, her head leaning on her hands, sleeping. He got a devious smirk on his face before he shook his head. This was not the time for a prank. She was probably exhausted after healing him and needed rest. He would have to think of another idea for pranking his Bachan. He walked to the bathroom and did his daily routine, but before he left he again activated his Sharingan and saw his reflection. He deactivated it and noticed that his eyes were the same blue that they were before. He was filled with energy and happy. He still couldn't get enough of the fact that Kyuubi-chan loved him as well, and as far as he knew he would be able to date Mei-chan and Sakiko-chan as well after he was named as the head of the clan when he graduated. He and Kyuubi had a long talk about this. While she had said that she didn't mind Naruto taking multiple mates, she had said that Naruto simply couldn't date everyone that Naruto fancied. Kyuubi had encouraged Naruto to tell Mei and Sakiko everything, including how he felt and about the CRA. From watching Naruto's memories, she had picked up subtle hints that pointed to the fact that they definitely liked him as more than a friend. The lingering hugs, contented sighs, and their blushing faces whenever they went swimming together. While she had expected Mei to like Naruto, Sakiko was a surprise as she had barely known Naruto for half a year, but she knew that she liked Naruto as much, if not more so than Mei did. Kyuubi shook her head. With how Naruto was such a kind-hearted and gentle soul who was fiercely protective of his friends and family, he would be lucky if he didn't have fangirls of his own. Giggling slightly, she went to her bedroom and went to sleep, awaiting Naruto when he came at night. Oblivious to Kyuubi's thoughts, Naruto got out of his room silently. He went down to the kitchen, ate some fruit, and went down to the training room. He needed to think about his plans, taking in the events of yesterday, and more importantly, making sure that he and his friends weren't targeted anymore. They would need to move their training to his own house. He was reluctant to do so before, as he didn't know how his friends would feel if they knew that Naruto was much more powerful than them. But after yesterday, his priorities had changed somewhat. Protecting his precious people was what mattered the most to him now. He also wondered what had happened to the Jounin that had attacked them. He was sure that he had not killed him. However, he wouldn't be leaving the hospital for at least a month, Naruto estimated. Killing was something that Naruto had decided that he would avoid. He understood that he could not become a good ninja without killing. It was a part of their job, whether they had to kill someone who was a threat or the mission parameters required so. He was about to start his morning exercises when he was interrupted by Mei and Sakiko calling his name and rushing towards his position. He smiled at them and was tackled by the both of them. They clung to him and Naruto reveled in the feeling of togetherness. He just returned their hug and kept on reassuring them that he was perfectly fine. After they calmed down, he told them to sit down and led them over towards the lake. Sitting down, he began his tale of his life. He left nothing out: his parents, his bloodlines. He even told them about Kyuubi. Mei and Sakiko listened attentively. They cried at the hardship that their friend had faced so young in his life. They understood that he was a Jinchuriki, and his own father had been the one that had performed the sealing. They were saddened that he loved Kyuubi, but thought that they were able to mask their emotions from him. Naruto had caught their flash of sadness in their eyes and finished his tale. The three of them were the only ones that knew everything that there was to know about him. So the reason that you always trained so hard is because Madara was after the Kyuubi, and you think that he would come after her again? Mei asked, glancing at Sakiko, wondering how she felt about the situation. Sakiko held her head down. She couldn't believe that the founder of her clan was still alive and directly responsible for the horrible life of her friend. She couldn't bring herself to look at Naruto. Naruto picked up on her thoughts and gently placed a hand on her shoulders. Don't think that I blame the whole Uchiha clan for Madara's actions. Moreover, if we see it technically, you aren't going to be a part of that clan for much longer anyway. Naruto-kun, you said that you had activated your Sharingan. Can you show it to us, please? Mei asked. Naruto activated his Sharingan, and both Mei and Sakiko gasped. It looked utterly demonic, but his eyes were so full of life and slight amusement that they didn't think that it was scary. They shuddered to think what they would look like if Naruto truly was angry at anyone and was glaring. Amazing. Sakiko whispered. Can you help me with my Sharingan as well, Naruto-kun? Sure, starting today I'm going to ask Bachan to help with your training as well. Both of you. I'm always going to protect you whenever you are in trouble, and the best way to avoid needing my help would be training to get stronger. Naruto said, looking at them intently. Both Mei and Sakiko nodded happily, and the three of them spent the morning going over their revised training regimen. In the afternoon, Naruto told Tsunade about activating his Sharingan. Tsunade conducted some tests and announced that there were no anomalies with him, compared to his previous tests. Naruto then asked her if she would mind helping him in training his friends as well. Tsunade grumbled about it, but eventually succumbed to Naruto's expectant and happy expression. Naruto knew that Mei and Sakiko couldn't use the Kage Bunshin training method. They simply didn't have enough chakra for it to be used effectively. But having small reserves meant that they could achieve chakra control much faster than him. Keeping this in mind, they had decided that over the next 3 years left for them at the academy, they would train in chakra control, move on to checking their elemental affinities, and then moving on to elemental manipulation. Naruto also had almost the same schedule, along with his own training in his mother's bloodline. He had so far mastered tree walking, water walking and had started on using chakra to enhance his speed and muscles for added strength along with routing his chakra to counter blows to his person. The last exercise had helped him in his spars against his clones. While he had an unusually high pain tolerance, he would still prefer to avoid getting hurt if he could. His taijutsu was coming along great. He had mastered the stances and he just needed to increase his experience in using it. With the help of his clones he had mastered the 3 jutsus that he knew. In order to increase his skill with them he would need to train in elemental manipulation. Kyuubi had told him that if he were to master his affinities to the extreme, he wouldn't need hand signs for performing his jutsus. He had a new idea after he had seen that his friends were exhausted easily after practicing jutsus, and was brainstorming for ideas with the help of Kyuubi. Naruto went to sleep that night thinking about the future and his new relationship with Kyuubi-chan. With Mei and Sakiko. Mei and Sakiko had accepted Naruto's offer to stay at his house from now onwards. They were just going to go to their apartment tonight, and would bring their possessions to Naruto's house tomorrow morning. Mei and Sakiko walked towards their apartment silently, each lost in their own thoughts. Their day had been nerve-wracking, but at the end of the day, they each thought that they had come out of it with a better understanding on their goals in life, and what they wanted to do with their lives. As they arrived home, they completed their daily routine before going to bed. Mei snuck into Sakiko's room for a talk that she felt that had been postponed for a long time. She decided that it was time that they talked about their feelings towards their blonde friend. Time skip 21 to 2 years. Naruto was walking towards the academy for the final time in his life as its student. He was wearing a blue t-shirt and off-white cargo shorts. He completed his attire with an orange hoodie and black sandals. He had a belt hanging loosely around his waist containing a ninja pouch with his throwing weapons. Today he would take the graduation exam and start his career as a genin of Konoha. A lot had happened over the past 2.5 years. The most significant, at least to Naruto, was that he was now engaged to be married to Mei-chan and Sakiko-chan. Although he had a crush on them and had considered dating them, he was surprised when the two of them had confessed to him together, the very same day after the attack. Naruto could honestly say that he was truly happy with his life. He had eventually made friends at the academy as well. Most of the clan heirs knew each other, and as a result when he made friends with Shikamaru Nara and Shuji Akimichi he was inducted into their friend circle. Mei and Sakiko had also made friends with the girls in the class. The teachers had tried their best to actively oppose their intermingling but had failed miserably. Despite the best efforts of the other teachers, Naruto was ranked as the Rookie of the Year in his class. This was mainly due to their teacher Iruka-sensei, who believed in fairness and didn't think of Naruto as the Kyuubi. As he reached the academy, he spotted a person that he hadn't seen in well over a year. Uchiha Sasuke had demanded that he be specially trained, and the council, primarily the civilian and the elders, had supported his demands. As a result, he had been given a waiver and was assigned a jounin as his teacher. Naruto looked at his arrogant stance and cocky smirk. It filled him with quiet rage. The bastard had followed through on his threat, and had banished Sakiko from the Uchiha clan as soon as he was made clan head. Sakiko had always said that it didn't bother her, and she was happy to be rid of the cursed clan, but had been morose for the next week. Naruto and Mei had helped her, and Naruto had said that since she was engaged to him she would belong the Namikaze Uzumaki clan. She had smiled at Naruto brilliantly, and hugged him with all her strength. As he entered the class, Naruto noticed that his two loves were chatting together, and on spotting him waved enthusiastically. Sitting between the two he leaned against the back wall, and just closed his eyes. He thought back to everything that he, Mei and Sakiko had learned. He was at the very least low jounin in overall ability, and both Mei and Sakiko were mid-chunin. He was currently working on the jounin level chakra control exercises and always trying to maximize his chakra reserves. His reserves were nearly Kage level, and considering that none of it was Kyuubi's chakra, was pretty impressive. Jiraiya had finally told him the reason that his dad stopped using the resistance seal. It was quite simple. He had developed a newer and better seal that had the properties of both the gravity seal and the resistance seal without the drawbacks of either. Jiraiya had applied the new seal on Naruto, and Naruto couldn't be happier with it. He wouldn't need to wear bulky weights on him. The gravity seal took care of it for him, and with the resistance seal still functioning, he needn't worry about overall growth. The new seal was similar to his earlier seal and had 50 levels max. He had grown heaps and bounds with his ninjutsu training, although he could only complete the wind manipulation exercises, and was halfway through the exercises for water and lightning manipulation. His wind techniques were something that was best avoided, otherwise you were liable to be torn to shreds. Naruto loves using wind techniques and was arguably his favorite element. He knew many jutsus for wind element, but the most frequently used by him were the vacuum techniques. He was looking forward to today's training as he would hopefully finally get his soul blade. He was brought out of his stupor when his name was called, and he went and performed the 3 required jutsus to pass the exam. After that, the academy teachers led the students outside and began their sparring exercises. Grades were awarded based upon the length and quality of the spar. Naruto, Mei, Sakiko, and Sasuke, along with most of the clan heirs, had no trouble in beating the evaluator, and at the end both Sasuke and Naruto were tied for the spot of Rookie of the Year. I refuse to accept this worthless wannabe ninja as the Rookie of the Year. The title should belong to me. Sasuke stated arrogantly. There were many squeals and shouts from the emo's fangirls supporting his statement. Naruto just shook his head. He suspected that only the clan heirs and a few others were liable to even make it as a ninja. He had expected such behavior from the Uchiha, and had a perfect plan to take him down a few pegs and take revenge for how the bastard had treated Sakiko as well. Why don't we spar Uchiha, right here, right now, winner gets to be the rookie. What do you say? Naruto asked while looking at him challengingly. Sasuke was sneering arrogantly at Naruto. Fine, but we play by my rules. Sasuke decided on an all-out spar, where anything goes except killing your opponent. Naruto couldn't help but smirk at Sasuke's naivete. His arrogance would be his downfall. Iruka looked as if he was reluctant for this to happen but had eventually given in when Sasuke's fangirls had started cheering loudly, and the deal was sealed when Mizuki agreed. Naruto and Sasuke stood opposite each other. Sasuke was in the stance of the Uchiha Taijutsu style, the interceptor. It relied on predicting your opponent's movement, and was supplemented by the Sharingan. Naruto adopted the standard academy style as he didn't want to injure the arrogant prick too badly. If that happened, the civilian council would not let him live in peace. Mizuki started the fight and Sasuke immediately started going through several hand seals before announcing his jutsu shouting Katan, Gakaki no Jutsu, Fire Release, Grand Fireball Technique, and blew out a moderately sized fireball in Naruto's direction. Sasuke smirked victoriously. Naruto stared calmly at the approaching fireball. He had dealt with far worse than this in his spars against Jiraiya. He noticed the cocky smirk upon the Uchiha's face and grinned. He was so going to enjoy the following next moments. He rapidly flashed through hand signs and whispered, Suetun, Tepidama, water release, gunshot. Water rose up from the nearby fountain and formed a globe of water before it shot towards the approaching fireball. The two collided violently and steam rose up from the point of collision, but eventually water won out and headed towards the surprised Uchiha. Although it had lost majority of its power, it still drenched him to the bone and pushed him backwards quite a bit. Snarling, Sasuke lunged himself at Naruto and began engaging him in hand-to-hand. He soon realized that no matter what he did he was unable to get past Naruto's guard. Changing tactics, he crouched down and swept his legs hoping to catch Naruto and trip him. Naruto anticipated this and stepped back slightly, avoiding the sweep, and dashed forward towards the awkwardly positioned Uchiha. Initiating a combo, he punched Sasuke 3 times, 2 in his stomach and 1 on his chest, and then finished it off with a solid kick to his back. Sasuke was hurled towards one of the trees and after impact slowly slid down, gritting his teeth in pain, glaring up at him. What's the matter, Sasuke? Am I a bit too much for you to handle him? Naruto taunted. Sasuke again tried and was subsequently thrown towards the same tree. Naruto walked up closer to him and whispered, so that only Sasuke could hear what he was saying. This is for Sakiko-chan. He threw 4 kunai forming a diamond pattern around him and slowly performed hand signs and almost lazily stated right on. Kaminari Shibari, lightning release, thunder binding. A wall of lightning rose up in the same pattern of the previously thrown kunai, and Sasuke, who was already wet, was struck by Naruto's lightning jutsu. He screamed for some while before slumping into unconsciousness. Naruto stared at the prone form of the Uchiha for some time before he turned to face his spluttering classmates. He saw that both Mei and Sakiko had happy smiles on their faces, and Sakiko mouthed a quick thank you. Winner, Uzumaki Naruto. Iruka said, feeling a bit proud. He was his student after all. Iruka then handed him his Konoha headband. As a rookie he was given a different headband than the others. His had the plate finished in black metal and the leaf symbol was carved in silver. He chose a black cloth to tie the headband on his upper left arm. Man, you totally smoked that bastard's ass, Naruto. Way to go. Remind me to not get on your bad side. Kiba said as he came and thumped him on his back. Meh, someone had to do it. The bastard was getting too big in the head. Naruto then spent some time talking with Kiba, Chuji and Shikamaru before Mei and Sakiko came up to him, and the 3 of them said their goodbyes and started towards his house. Halfway there, Mei suddenly jumped up at Naruto's back and acting on instinct, he caught her. Mei rested her head on Naruto's shoulder and closed her eyes in comfort. Sakiko silently berated herself for not thinking of doing the same thing. Naruto just shrugged and the 3 of them were on their way. Bachan, we're home. Naruto called and gently deposited Mei, who had amazingly fallen asleep on the couch. Welcome home, Naruto-kun. Shizen answered. Rookie of the year, huh? Not surprising. She then stepped towards Naruto and ruffled his hair, smiling at the outraged expression on his face. Congratulations, Naruto-kun. Shizen said and then hugged him. Naruto's expression changed in an instant, and he returned the hug. Thanks, Nei-chan. Shizen then stepped away and hugged Sakiko as well. You should have seen him, Shizen-san. He practically wiped the floor with that prick. Sakiko was smiling brilliantly. Oh, do tell. Seeing as the both of them were not liable to stop talking anytime soon, he walked towards his room and thought about the training that he would do today. He had already requested the Hokage to place him, Mei and Sakiko, on the same team with any Jounin sensei of his choice. While the Hokage would have a hard time convincing the council for the unusual team structure, it was not beyond his capabilities. Naruto then took a shower, donned his training clothes and proceeded towards the training ground in his basement. Naruto sat down underneath the waterfall, meditated, and soon found himself in his mindscape. He looked around and on not finding Kyuubi anywhere, figured that she might still be asleep. He entered his house and found her soundly sleeping in what was his room in the real world, and was Kyuubi's room in his mindscape. She was sleeping soundly, hugging a pillow shaped as a fox close to her. Naruto gently got on the bed so as to not wake her up. Kyu-chan. Kyu-chan, wake up. Whispering softly in her ear, wa. Kyuubi yawned cutely and saw Naruto beside her and blushed slightly at his closeness. She then smiled and promptly grabbed him, laid him down and snuggling closer to him, rested her head on his chest. You need to get up, Kyu-chan. You said that we'll begin training in my mother's bloodline today. Naruto said reluctantly, enjoying their closeness himself. Just stay like this for 5 more minutes, Naruto-kun, Kyuubi said, barely hanging on to her consciousness. Sure. Naruto said before he kissed the top of her head and rested. Barely 2 minutes after that, both of them were sleeping soundly. The both of them woke up after nearly an hour. They got out of bed and donned their training clothes. Although they could have just wished for it, they preferred to do things mundanely, using the time to wake up properly. He told her of his day, making her laugh silly after she heard what he did to the Uchiha. She softly kissed him on the lips to congratulate him on his graduation, and as the rookie no less. Walking towards the lake, their favorite training place, they both sat down, and Kyuubi explained what Naruto had to do. What do you mean to say that I have to stab myself in the heart? What if I fail and don't manage to acquire the sword? Will I die? Naruto asked frantically, bordering on the edge of hysteria. Calm down, Naruto-kun. Do you honestly think that I would advise you to do something that could even potentially hurt you, never mind kill you? You are smarter than this, Naruto-kun, Kyuubi said as she reached over and laid a comforting hand on his knees. I know that, Kyu-chan, but you can't tell me that stabbing yourself in your heart cannot be even a little disconcerting. So what happens to those who fail? Naruto asked. Nothing much. They will obviously need medical attention for the stab wound, but your heart will not be damaged. Your mother told me that the heart mends itself rapidly, thus leaving the person with only minor injuries. If you succeed, you will enter your interpretation of your soul where you will meet your blade. Meet my blade? Naruto asked, confused. Kyuubi hadn't told him about this earlier, preferring to keep her teaching of new techniques as a surprise. Yes. Your blade will manifest itself into whatever form most resembles its powers. Whatever happens after that is unique to every person and is usually decided by your blade. Kyuubi said. Do you think I should tell anyone about this? It seems too risky. They would never allow me to do this, and I would feel better if either Ba-chan or Nei-chan were there to observe if anything were to go wrong. Naruto asked. Kyuubi pondered over Naruto's choices. Telling either Mei or Sakiko about this was out of the question. They were too overprotective of him. Although Naruto didn't need it, it always warmed his heart whenever they stood up for him. They reacted quite harshly against anyone that either threatened, made fun of, or God forbid, hurt him. Mei would react immediately, and would either hurt or reduce them to tears with her words. Sakiko was more subtle, making her much more dangerous. She had a bit more control though. She didn't anger easily, but her fury was not to be trifled with. Shizen was a valid choice, but she was always against his harsh training to begin with. She understood his reasons and respected him for it, but she just couldn't bring herself to see him as a warrior. To her he was just her cute little brother who she was entitled to spoil rotten. She cared for him after any training accident, and would hover around him for the next few days. Once when training with Jiraiya, he had gone overboard and had ended up breaking his arm and knocking him unconscious. The tongue lashing that he had received was one for the record books, and she had ended her rant with a solid kick to his balls, leaving the perverted Sannin gasping and whimpering on the ground. They had wisely chosen to refrain from telling Tsunade about it, as she would have pounded Jiraiya to paste for hurting her godson. Jiraiya would be perfect, but he couldn't keep a secret from Tsunade to save his life. She would immediately come to know about it whether he wanted to tell her or not. Add in the fact that the concerned party was Naruto himself, and you have a situation that you would rather not deal with. Jiraiya, who had remained an active ninja, was much more aware of the threat, and would often train Naruto to the bone. His perviness aside, he was like a cool uncle to Naruto. Looking at the choices, Tsunade was their best choice, although convincing her would be a humongous task. She would likely refuse, but Naruto would take his chances. I think that telling Tsunade would be the best choice, Naruto-kun, Kyuubi said after a while. Naruto sighed. I figured as much. Nei-chan would freak, and the girls wouldn't let me out of their sights for even a minute for the next week if I were to tell them. They can be quite bothersome that way. Naruto said, smiling fondly. So then what do we do in the meantime? Naruto asked. Why don't we go for a swim, and after that we could catch up on our sleep? Kyuubi said, already beginning to take off her clothes. Wah! What are you doing, Kyu-chan? Naruto stuttered, standing up quickly and turning away from her, his face turning bright red. He heard some shuffling noises and then felt her hands go under his raised ones as she pulled him flush against her, and resting her mouth near his ear whispered, just changing into my swimsuit, Naruto-kun. Naruto turned around and saw that she was indeed dressed. He looked at her triumphant face and realized that he had just been pranked. Kyuubi just stuck her tongue out at him and dashed into the water, giggling the whole way. Time skipped that night. Naruto was standing nervously in front of Tsunade's room. He knocked, which was unusual for him. Usually he just barged in. Hearing a muffled comment, he opened the door and saw that she was reading one of the scrolls and taking notes. Tsunade looked up from her reading to see Naruto shuffling from the doorway. She wondered what was bothering him. He wasn't his usual self. She got up from her seat, a concerned look on her face. "What's wrong, Naruto-kun? Are you feeling well?" "Bachan, I need a favor. It has to do with my training." And Naruto told her what he had to do in order to train further in his mother's bloodline. "I refuse. Naruto, you are taking a huge risk, however small the repercussions might be. I forbid you to stab yourself." "Have you gone mad?" Tsunade asked, shaking Naruto slightly. "But I need you to do this for me, Bachan. You are the only one that I trust that even has the chance of allowing me to do this. And besides, due to my regeneration, the wound will probably heal itself. I am just asking you to be there as a precaution." Naruto asked, his voice full of determination. Tsunade sighed at seeing the determination shining in his eyes. Even if she refused, she knew that Naruto would just do this as soon as he was able to give them all the slip. He was a master at hiding whenever he didn't want to be found. "Fine, Naruto-kun, but please think this through," Tsunade stated and swiped at her eyes, turning away from him, making a shooing motion towards the door. "Don't worry, Bachan. I'll still be around to annoy you for a long time to come," Naruto said softly before he stepped away and went on his way. Tsunade laughed softly. Naruto could be pretty dense sometimes, but would always say things that strike away your insecurities. She was always worried that she had been cursed to have her loved ones taken away from her. When Shizen had informed Naruto of this, he had sat down with her and had a long talk. She had stared incredulously at him when he had systematically shown her his point of view on the things that she had been blaming herself for. It didn't cast off her fears completely, but she felt as if a huge load had been lifted from her. Both of them had come out of the situation with a better understanding of themselves and each other, and had cemented their relationship. "Damn brat," she said, smiling. Naruto then spent the rest of the evening with Mei and Sakiko. They trained some, had dinner, and had fun with Shizen. All of them had noticed a slight change in Naruto's behavior but didn't comment on it, figuring that if it was important enough, he would tell them. That night, after everyone had gone to sleep, Naruto and Tsunade made their way down to the training ground. When they reached there, they were surprised to see Shizen standing there, arms folded across her chest, and just staring at them. Naruto wondered what she was doing here. He knew that when Tsunade promised him that she wouldn't tell anyone, she meant it. "Hey there, Nei-chan, what are you doing here?" Naruto asked casually. "Drop the act, Naruto-kun. I saw the way you were acting the whole evening, and after that when I went to ask Tsunade something, there was something off about her as well. I have known you for more than 2 years, Naruto-kun. Now tell me why you are here and what are you hiding?" Shizen huffed. "Quite smart, aren't you, Nei-chan?" Naruto sighed. He then proceeded to tell her about his training plan for today. He was surprised when she immediately didn't reject the idea and march him to his room. His surprise must have shown on his face because she smiled sadly at him. "You are an official ninja now, Naruto-kun. All that I can do now is advise you and help you. I can't stop you from training in whatever way you like. I never could really, but I like to think that I could. Just promise me one thing, Naruto-kun. Please never leave out what you are training in because you think I won't approve," Shizen said. Naruto felt a rush of affection towards Shizen. He just smiled at her and walked away from them and stood in a clearing. Taking Kyuubi's advice, he released his chakra and gravity seal. Controlling his sudden burst of chakra, he breathed out and got ready. Taking a standard katana, he took a deep breath and stabbed it clean through his torso, impaling his heart. Tsunade and Shizen were expecting Naruto to do this, but they couldn't resist the gasp that escaped from their lips. They grabbed onto each other. Whether to stop the other or themselves, they didn't know. They saw as blood dripped from the fatal wound, dribbling onto the ground. Then there was a sudden explosion of chakra and they were amazed to see that the sword impaling him simply vanished into particles of black light. They began to approach him, not sure if his training was complete or not. Just as they were about to come near him, his chakra exploded out of him, surrounding him, preventing anyone from interfering with Naruto. As soon as Naruto had stabbed himself, the world stopped around him. Leaves on the trees stopped swaying, ripples in the lake froze in their place, and everywhere he looked, he could only see himself as the only thing, irrespective of whether it was alive or dead, that was moving. He saw numbly as his chakra swirled around him and formed a sort of protective barrier. He felt a sharp pain in his chest, and he closed his eyes trying to ignore the pain. When he opened his eyes, he saw that he was in a vast expanse of small hills covered in grass, and could see that it was night time. The moon was bigger than he ever remembered seeing and was a sinister shade of red. Huge mountains whose peaks were hidden by storm clouds could be seen in the distance. He was lying on his back facing upwards, and he noticed that there was not even a single star to be seen. "Hello, Naruto." Naruto quickly flipped onto his feet and looked at the person who made the sound. He was clothed in a tattered black hooded cloak that was fraying out into tattered ends. His hood was hiding his face from view. He was slightly taller than Naruto, his body built for speed. "Who are you? And where are we?" Naruto asked, his senses on high alert. "I'm your sword, Naruto. Whether you are worthy of wielding me or not has yet to be seen." Saying that, he lifted his hood and revealed his face. He was fairly young, maybe in his late teens. He had long ragged black hair, but had no other distinguishing features about him. He bent down on his knees and placed his open palm onto the grass. Naruto sensed him concentrating his power, and suddenly, the whole ground, for as far as he could see, there were various types of blades sticking out of the ground. He grabbed a sword near him, pulling it out and swinging it a few times. "Choose your blade, Naruto," he said as he slowly walked towards him. Naruto looked around. There was nothing around him that he was familiar using. Deciding to test the waters a bit, he took out 2 kunai and held them in each of his hands. He looked towards the person standing in front of him, and noticed a look of disappointment on his face. "Let us begin." Saying that, he simply vanished from Naruto's sight. Naruto, sensing an attack from his right, ducked below just as the blade passed over him. Still crouching, he pivoted on his hands and tried to kick him, but he vanished again. This is going to be a long fight, Naruto thought. Naruto again sensed him, this time slightly behind his right side. He turned around and slashed at him. He noticed a look of surprise on the man's face and smirked slightly. "It seems that you are well trained, Naruto. That's good. It would make my job much easier. Choose a blade, Naruto. One of the countless blades that you see before you is your soul blade. Find it, and you will come to know my name, and you will succeed in your training." Naruto again looked around. Closing his eyes, he tried to find a connection, a gut feeling, anything that would help him complete this training. He felt a pulse, but it didn't come from any particular direction. "Prepare yourself." Snapping his eyes open, Naruto picked up the nearest blade. The man just vanished again. Naruto had spent upwards of approximately 3 hours fighting what he figured was his blade. He had lost count of the number of times that he had picked up a sword that was shattered by him. Although he had begun to last longer with each subsequent broken blade, getting used to fighting with it, he couldn't figure out the pulsing that he felt. It had been growing stronger with time, to the point that he was getting seriously distracted by its presence. He glanced around himself. He could hardly believe that he had used up almost all the swords here. There was only one left. He had been using his Sharingan for quite some time now, and it had enabled him to fight the man on somewhat even grounds, even with his inexperience in handling blades. Naruto knew that he had to finish this fight quickly. He didn't have much energy left, and he had received multiple cuts and numerous scratches throughout his fight. Although he could now track his opponent's movement much better than he had been able to when he had started off, he was getting exhausted. He glanced towards the sword. It was an axe-type halberd. Naruto picked it up, sighing with relief. He figured that this was his sword, and finally this pulsating feeling he was feeling could stop. He blocked a sideways slash to his chest, using his other hand to reinforce his guard and push the offending blade away. The man stumbled slightly as he was pushed backwards. Capitalizing on the situation, Naruto dashed forward and jumped high, landing towards the man's position as he held the halberd downwards. The man looked up at him and swung his sword at Naruto's weapon directly. Much to the surprise of Naruto, this weapon shattered under the strong strike as well. "It seems that you have not found your blade, Naruto. I'm sorry, Naruto, but it's time for you to die. Pity you wouldn't be able to fulfill your dream now, isn't it, Naruto?" Naruto quelled his anger at his opponent's mocking tone. It would not serve him well if he were to lose his temper in this fight. The pulsing feeling within him got even stronger, and it was then that Naruto understood. Concentrating on bringing out the feeling, he gasped slightly as a wonderful feeling of completion filled him. He looked down at his hand and gazed at his sword. It truly was a work of art. It was a dato, Japanese long sword, with a black blade. The cross guard had 4 protrusions bent in the shape of an Indian swastika. The hilt of the sword was wrapped in rough edges in black color with a short length of chain hanging from its end. He looked up at his opponent, and now it was his turn to gasp. Naruto's eyes were alight with an unearthly glow that further emphasized his Sharingan, bringing the 3 black tomo in sharp contrast against the golden eye. He saw as Naruto concentrated his power, making his chakra swirl around him. Its color slightly changed. It was now completely pitch black, so dark that it seemed to suck the light around it. On the edges it was tinted with a dark crimson color. He watched as Naruto was encased in his own chakra, a pillar of dark light extending upwards. As the chakra spike died down, he saw Naruto approaching him, much like he had earlier. "It would seem that you have finally found your blade, Naruto. I hereby accept you as my wielder and master. Go forth, Naruto, and proudly call out my name." Meanwhile, Shizen and Tsunade were nervously waiting for a sign, anything that would help them determine Naruto's condition. They were startled out of their thoughts when Naruto's chakra spiked once before dying out completely. They saw that other than looking a little worse for wear, he had no other apparent injuries, and the katana that he had stabbed himself with and the subsequent wound was nowhere to be seen. Sighing in relief, they had almost reached him when they were blown away by his chakra, having been caught off guard. They watched in slack-jawed amazement as Naruto's chakra was released to its fullest potential, although it had gone through an unusual color change. As the chakra died down, they saw as Naruto unsteadily got up on his feet and holding out his right arm in front of him whispered, "Tensa Zangetsu, Heavenly Chains Slaying Moon." They watched amazed as small particles of Naruto's chakra seemed to make a rough shape of a sword before Naruto swiped his hands to his side, revealing his blade to them. "Hey Nei-chan, Bachan, I completed my exercise and you didn't even have to heal me. Shizen ran forward towards him and began checking him all over for injuries, and finding nothing that his regeneration couldn't handle, just gave him a hug to congratulate him. The three of them then proceeded out of the training grounds listening to Naruto's training, and then turned in for the night after Naruto had dispelled his blade. The next morning, Naruto woke up the next morning, and the first thing that he did was to call his blade to him. It appeared before him looking as if it was his chakra that was making the blade. Smiling that it was simply not just a dream, he bounded off to get ready for the day. They had a 2-day holiday at the academy. During this time, the results of the tests were evaluated and a complete report was submitted to the Hokage. He then decided the team placements according to what type of a team it would be, whether it was a tracker team, assault team, or an infiltration team. Naruto had already met him, and the Hokage had promised Naruto his team request, but he had laid a condition that he would only claim his clan head status after he made Chunin. Naruto knew why the Hokage wanted to delay his coronation as clan head. He had neglected to inform the Hokage about his true level of skill. He thought that Naruto was high genin in skills with unusually high chakra reserves. But delaying the coronation would mean that he wouldn't be able to ask Mei-chan and Sakiko-chan to be his wives today as he had planned. So he had refused his condition and had played the guilt card on him. 20 minutes later, he was walking out the Hokage tower with official papers naming him as the clan head of the Namikes and the Uzumaki clans. He knew that once the council came to know of this, they would fight tooth and nail to reverse it. Too bad that the Hokage had been granted temporary control of the Namikes clan, and he had declared Naruto as the next clan head. Shaking his head out of his thoughts, Naruto got up and went towards his wardrobe. Performing a few hand seals and then biting his thumb, he smeared some blood on the underside of the drawer. A scroll appeared in a puff of smoke. He again went through the same procedure, but with different hand signs, and there were 2 jewelry boxes. Naruto had pondered his girl's small chakra reserves for a long time. Although they were much stronger than a genin's almost mid-chunin, they were still low compared to him. If they were to survive in the ninja world as his mates, they would need to grow stronger. Naruto would never forgive himself if any harm were to come to them due to him. They knew this and had always taken their training seriously. In order to help them increase their chakra reserves, he had designed these rings. They were similar to the diamond that Bachan had in her forehead. This was where he had gotten the idea for this particular seal. But unlike Tsunade's diamond, which directly influenced the cells of her body, allowing her to rapidly heal herself from virtually any wound, be it fatal or not. It was the reason that she would always say that she would never die in battle. The seal Naruto had created allowed the user to store their excess chakra over time into the ring, and when in a pinch, they could release the seal and the chakra stored in it would be directly released into their chakra circulatory system. He was planning to propose to them after the date that he planned to take them on today. Both rings were made of chakra-conductive platinum. The seal had been inscribed in intricate patterns on both the sides of the ring. Mei's ring had the engravings in emerald stones and Sakiko's in rubies. He had offered a ring to Kyuubi as well, but she had just stated that she would be happy to carry his mate mark and didn't need any rings. Naruto had blushed on hearing that, and had changed the topic as soon as he could. Time skipped that evening. The trio of newly minted ninja had gone out on a date to celebrate their graduation. The date had gone great. They had gone to Ichiraku's to have dinner, and after that Naruto had escorted them to the top of the Hokage mountain. They were sitting down, with both of the girls leaning comfortably on Naruto on either side of him. Pushing them away slightly, Naruto got up and motioned for them to do the same. He smiled inwardly at their slightly confused looks. As they stood up and approached him, he got down to one knee and proposed to them. Mei-chan, you were the only person aside from Kyuubi-chan who acknowledged me. You remained my friend even though it made your life difficult. I would be honored if you would agree to spend the rest of your life with me. Sakiko-chan, even though I came to know you after Mei-chan, you are just as precious to me as she is. You always helped me get through my difficulties and accepted me as your friend. I promise to protect the both of you with everything that I have. Terumi Mei, Sakiko-chan, will you marry me? Both the girls had tears brimming in their eyes. Silently, they nodded and swallowed through the lump in their throat and said a shaky yes. They gasped as they saw their rings, and extended their hands. Naruto slipped the rings on their hands and kissed their hands lovingly. After he got up, he was hugged enthusiastically by the both of them. Sakiko leaned forward and captured his lips in a soft kiss, followed by Mei. They spent the rest of the night atop the heads of the previous Hokage's heads, and the girls would occasionally tilt their hands in different directions, admiring their new rings. Naruto told them the special properties of the ring, and they went home walking happily, the girls with a skip in their step. Shizen, who was hiding in the trees surrounding the area that they were in, smiled happily. Naruto had approached her inquiring about how he should handle the date tonight. She was proud of how her little brother had handled the situation. You know, Nei-chan, I really don't appreciate you spying on me. Shizen barely held in the scream that wanted to erupt from her lips. She looked up from her hiding position, and saw Naruto leaning against the tree on a higher branch. Shizen smiled sheepishly. I just wanted to see how your date went, I'm sure. Well, anyway, they are heading home now, you should too. Saying that, Naruto went up in a puff of smoke. I didn't even notice him. I wonder how long he knew I was here? Shizen thought. Walking down the road, Naruto smiled. Time skipped the next day. Naruto, Mei and Sakiko made their way to the academy to know their team placements. Naruto hadn't informed them of the deal that he had made with the Hokage, intending to surprise them. They were a little late to arrive at the academy. They had stayed up late last night discussing their plans and life in general. They had decided that they would only trust their designated sensei after they had made sure that they could be trusted. Until that time they would limit the skills that they would show, especially Naruto. When they entered they saw that the whole class was assembled and was staring at them. Shrugging, they went up to the usual spot in the classroom, and waited for their teacher to come in. Sitting down, Naruto felt a heated glare directed in his direction and looked up to see the Uchiha glaring at him. He was still covered in bandages from their last fight. He saw as he got up and approached his position, Naruto, unnoticed by anyone, tensed slightly. "Dobe, I demand that you teach me the jutsus that you used against me. As an Uchiha, who specialize in ninjutsu, I have the right to know every jutsu that you know. If you disagree, I can make your life very difficult. The council will do anything to please me," Sasuke stated arrogantly. Man, he has all the subtlety of a bijou in the middle of Konoha in broad daylight. Naruto thought. Oh. Anything you say, Naruto said suggestively. Sasuke turned red with anger, but just then Iruka entered and told them to settle down. "I would watch your back, Dobe. This isn't over. You are welcome to try anytime, bastard." "Alright class, quiet down," shouted Iruka. He then proceeded to give a lengthy speech of what it meant to be a ninja. He proceeded to tell them his experiences, but seeing half the class sleeping and the rest of them chatting again, he sighed and proceeded to announce the team placements. Naruto didn't pay any attention to majority of the names being announced, but he made a note of the placements of the clan heirs. Sasuke and his number 1 fangirl Hirono Sakura along with a boy named Sai was composed of Team 7, Team 8 was Hyuga Hinata, Inuzuka Kiba and Aburame Shino, Team 10 was Yamanaka Ino, Akimichi Tsuji and Nara Shikamaru. Naruto was keeping a close eye on Mei and Sakiko while the teams were being announced. He saw as they were relieved that none of them were on a team with the Uchiha, and as the teams were announced they grew excited, glancing at each other, and then at Naruto. As Team 10 was announced, they looked around the class once before squealing and jumped at Naruto, hugging him. "Naruto-kun, you had something to do with this, right?" Mei asked sweetly. "Ask me no questions and I'll tell you no lies," Naruto said cheekily. Mei and Sakiko smiled happily and squeezing him a final time went to their own seats. "And as you might have guessed, Team 11 will be Terumi Mei, Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sakiko," Iruka said. "You seem to have got the names wrong. She doesn't belong to the Uchiha clan. I banished her from the clan last month," Sasuke stated with a smirk. "Yes, sensei, I don't belong to that worthless clan anymore. I am now a part of the Uzumaki clan, as Naruto-kun's wife," Sakiko said happily. "Me too," Mei chimed in. The whole class as well as Iruka were gaping at the three of them, doing a perfect impersonation of a fish. Anyway. You will meet your Jounin senseis this afternoon, after lunch." Dismissed. Mei and Sakiko were cornered by their friends asking about this new development, and they moved out to the grounds. Time skipped lunch. The whole class was assembled waiting for their Jounin senseis to arrive. Naruto sensed someone approaching the classroom, and the door opened to reveal 10 Jounins. 3 of them stood out the most. The first was a man of approximately 6 feet 3 inches and had brown eyes, short black spiky hair and beard. His clothing consisted of the standard Konoha ninja uniform with the sleeves rolled up. He also wore a flak jacket, regular ninja sandals and forehead protector. He also wore the ninja sash around his waist with the kanji for fire marked on it, a bracelet on both of his wrists and bandages on both arms of his outfit. He had a cigarette in his mouth and appeared bored. The second person was a woman who was quite beautiful, Naruto observed. She had long and black, shoulder-length untamed hair, and very unique eyes that are red in color, with an additional ring in them. She was wearing makeup consisting of red lipstick and purple eyeshadow. She was wearing a red mesh armor blouse with only the right sleeve visible. Over this is very broad material which resembles bandages with a pattern on it similar to those of rose thorns. Her hands and upper thighs were also wrapped in bandages and she wore the Konoha forehead protector and regular ninja sandals. She appeared to be quite strict, and when she looked at Hinata, she gave her a faint smile. The third person was surprising to most of the people in the class. She didn't appear to be much older than them, 15 to 16 years old at the most. She, like most competent kunoichi, was in top shape and quite attractive. She had purple-violet, straight hair reaching down to her waist and chocolate-brown eyes. She was wearing a soft layer of reddish-purple lipstick, which went well with her hair and skin tone. She was dressed in a skin-tight black, full-sleeved shirt and wore the flak jacket above it. She was also wearing gray tights that went up to her mid-thigh. She wore her forehead protector as a makeshift bandana, covering the top of her head, her hair falling down the sides. She wore black ninja sandals as her footwear. He noticed that her forehead protector was the same as his, implying that she was also the top ninja of her batch. The thing that intrigued Naruto the most, however, was the sword that was strapped to her back. It was a dado, Japanese long sword, the same type of sword as him. She appeared to be quite nervous but hid it well. He doubted that anyone else would have noticed it. As the Jounins began taking their assigned students away, amazingly enough, she was the one that approached their group. "Team 11? She asked, inclining her head in their direction. The 3 of them nodded. "Follow me," Saying that, she turned around and walked out of the class. Mei and Sakiko looked at Naruto, who shrugged and proceeded to follow him. They traveled atop the rooftops and ended their journey at a standard nondescript training ground. Their Jounin instructor motioned for them to sit down. Now then, I'm sure that you have a lot of questions. But before you ask them, why don't we introduce ourselves? I'll start. Their instructor stated. My name is Yugao Yuzuki. I like training and reading novels. I dislike people who take things for granted and people who lie to me. I don't have any particular dislikes other than that. My dream is to become the best Kenjutsu mistress in Konoha and to raise a family. Why don't you go next, Mei-san? Alright, my name is Terumi Mei, but you can call me Uzumaki Mei as well. I love Naruto-kun, Sakiko-chan and my adoptive family. I like training as well, and also lazing around in the hot springs and swimming. I dislike arrogance in anyone. I also don't like those who treat Naruto-kun badly and old perverts. My dream is to master my bloodline and be the best ninja that I can be, also to have many kids with Naruto-kun. Mei said with a faint blush on her cheeks and winked at Naruto. You are going to have my baby's first Naruto-kun, and only after that can Mei-chan stake her claim. Kyuubi said to Naruto. Naruto immediately blushed deep red and started spluttering nonsense. Well, moving on, Sakiko-san if you would. Yugao said, seeing as Naruto was incapable of coherent thought at the moment. My name is Uzumaki Sakiko. I love Naruto-kun and his family. I like to spend time with him doing training and other stuff. I dislike the Uchiha clan and bullies. My dream is to become the best medical ninja, rivaling Tsunade of the Sannin, and also be a good wife to Naruto-kun. I also want to help Naruto-kun achieve his dream as well, Sakiko stated happily, looking directly at Naruto. Admirable goals. Now lastly, Naruto-kun. Yugao said. Sakiko and Mei both glanced at Yugao when she said this, noting it for future reference. There was something that she was not telling them. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I love my future wives and my family. I like training, and am starting on Kenjutsu. I also like to write novels of my own. I dislike anyone who harms my family, and also stuck-up pricks. I hate politics. My dream is to restore my clan, and make it the strongest clan in Konoha and making my parents proud, Naruto said with a determined glint in his eyes. Very nice. Meet me at this place tomorrow morning at 7. I will administer the genin test and see if you are ninja material. Yugao said. She was surprised when they didn't question her on her statement. She had asked her Jounin sensei what he had meant, and expected them to do the same. Her confusion must have shown on her face because Naruto said, we already know that Yugao sensei. Konoha always tests the academy graduates to see if they are capable of working together as a team. Well, it appears that you have already passed the test, but I still need to test your abilities, so let's meet here tomorrow. Yugao said. She needed to speak to the Hokage. The three of them nodded and proceeded to go to their home, for some rest and relaxation and then some light sparring later. When they got home, Naruto was surprised to see Jiraiya there. Both Mei and Sakiko made excuses to be elsewhere. It was not that they hated him or something, they thought that he was plain weird, and much too perverted for their likes. Hey brat, heard you were now an official ninja of Konoha. Congratulations, your life is now owned by the Hokage. Jiraiya said in full hermit mode, nodding his head seriously. Yo! Ero-sennin, what are you doing back in Konoha? Naruto asked. Damn it brat, stop calling me that. Jiraiya shouted. I'll do that as soon as you stop peeking on girls in the hot springs. Naruto deadpanned, like that's going to happen. Jiraiya huffed. My point exactly. Naruto smirked, laughing at Jiraiya's face after he fell for the obvious trap. Anyway, as promised, I am going to teach you Minato's signature technique, the Rasengan, spiraling sphere, Jiraiya stated pompously. He dug into his pockets and handed him a scroll that has all the things that you will need to learn the Rasengan. I would teach you myself, but I have learned that you work best when working by yourself. All that you need is guidance. But if you need help, just wait until the next time we meet. I really can't afford to lose more time here. See ya around brat. Jiraiya walked off saying that, ooh boy, it's been a long time since I have been to the Konoha hot springs, duty calls. Jiraiya thought, giggling perversely as he rushed to find an undetectable peeking spot. Naruto would have called Jiraiya on his lame excuse, but was busy reading the description of the technique. There was a basic explanation of the jutsu added by handwritten notes, presumably written by Jiraiya. While reading, Naruto was walking towards the training grounds. The Rasengan is chakra that has been rotated and then compressed into the shape of a sphere. Rasengan does not require any hand seals to use, relying only on the chakra control of the user. Once it is complete, it becomes self-sustaining, which does not give the Rasengan a definite limit like some other jutsus. The compacted nature and moving speed of the chakra allows the Rasengan to grind into whatever it comes in contact with to inflict major damage. This tends to launch the target backward after being hit, or, if the target is lying on the ground or being launched to the ground, the destructive force is enough to form a crater. Naruto practically had drool coming out of his mouth as he read the description. He skimmed through the document, while having his Sharingan active. He had discovered that when he had it activated he had photographic memory, which he mused must be necessary to copy stuff. Jiraiya had broken down the learning process into 3 simple steps. He had added a note saying that, if Naruto truly wanted to master the jutsu, he would need to follow the steps religiously. Naruto read the first step. It required that he be able to completely burst open a water balloon using his chakra only. Jiraiya had written that by spinning the water inside in multiple directions at once using only the user's chakra, it would be possible. This step emphasizes rotation. Naruto excitedly got out a scroll that Jiraiya gave him, and unsealed it to find a whole carton full of water balloons. Naruto then created 200 clones and directed them to fill all the balloons and gather them in a pile. After doing that they dispelled and Naruto began training to learn the Rasengan. Naruto had been trying to complete the first step for 3 hours now. He had made progress in bursting the balloon, but it still took him a lot of time. This was much more difficult than the other chakra exercises that he used. Fundamentally there were only 2 chakra control exercises, tree and water walking. All the other exercises that he had been practicing were branches that he used to augment his fighting prowess. Although they helped in increasing control, they were techniques that could be performed by anyone that had mastered the basic 2 exercises. Chakra control only increased with experience in using it. Naruto had never been more thankful for shadow clones. But this jutsu was at a whole other level. The scroll described it as one of the most advanced form of chakra-shaped manipulation. He was using his Sharingan to see the chakra flow and improve it, to better match the requirements. He brought his hand forward and looking at it intently, channeled his chakra to it, and suddenly the balloon popped and was torn to smithereens, the water inside coming down on him in a misty form. First step completed. He murmured and leaned against a tree, to rest for some time. Before he knew it he was asleep. Naruto's mindscape. As soon as he got up in his mindscape, he was tackled to the ground and was kissed by Kyuubi passionately. After regaining his bearings he kissed her back as well. After they separated, Kyuubi just took his hand and led him inside the house and sat him down on the couch. After that, she snuggled up to him, and Naruto put his arms around her back and held her close. He was shocked when he felt her sobbing quietly, her face buried in the crook of his neck, trying to burrow even closer to him. "What's wrong, Kyu-chan?" Naruto asked, his tone filled with concern and a little bewilderment. Kyuubi shook her head and stayed quietly in the same position. "Was my kiss really that bad?" Naruto asked, trying to cheer her up. Kyuubi let out a throaty giggle, shook her head, but still remained silent. "Come on, Kyu-chan, you know that I don't like to see you sad. What's bothering you?" Naruto asked while gently rubbing her back, and brought his other hand up to stroke her hair. "I really want to be the first one to bear your babies, Naruto-kun, but I am trapped in this seal. We can do just about everything in here, but the creation of life is impossible in here," Kyuubi said sadly. "You know that I am working on freeing you, Kyu-chan, never abandon hope. We are close to figuring it out, but I feel as if there is a piece missing from my mother's notes. And you know that I am not ready to be a father yet. I will only be comfortable raising a family after Madara has been dealt with once and for all. So we have plenty of time. I promise you, you will be the first to bear me children," Naruto said as he kissed the side of her head. "I don't see why you are worried though. You know that I haven't yet properly kissed Mei-chan and Sakiko-chan. We just snuggle together and peck lightly. You know that, don't you?" Naruto asked. "I love you, Naruto-kun, more than anything else in the world," Kyuubi said softly, leaning back to look him in the eyes. "I love you too, Kyu-chan," Naruto said smiling. Time skipped that night. Naruto, Mei and Sakiko were sitting down in the training grounds after dinner discussing what they would do regarding the evaluation exam tomorrow. They agreed that Mei and Sakiko would do most of the fighting, with Naruto assisting them. Granted, it would be suspicious, but Naruto could just say that it was his fighting style, and was more of a support fighter. Both Mei and Sakiko got up after that and then engaged themselves in a spar, while Naruto sat down and attempted to contact Tensei Zangetsu. Kyuubi had told him to visit him and that he was the one who would teach him all that he would require to know about his sword and the special chakra of the Uzumaki clan. Naruto concentrated the same way that he used to when he wanted to visit Kyuubi. The world suddenly appeared to stop in front of him, and he soon found himself in his inner world, as he called it. He saw that Zangetsu was sitting down on a rock that was jutting out of the field and gazing up at the moon. Naruto wondered what he was thinking about. Was Zangetsu-san? Naruto asked. "You are going to go far, Naruto. I can feel it, your strength, your resolve and your determination. I will assist you in any way that I can, Naruto. All that I ask for in return is to never change your beliefs, and work together with me," Zangetsu said, looking directly at Naruto. "I will work hard to meet your expectations, Zangetsu-san." Naruto bowed towards him, to show his respect. Zangetsu then started explaining the various techniques that the Uzumakis used while in battle. There were 2 techniques that stood out the most and were frequently used by them in battle. The first was Ho-Ho step method. It primarily consisted of a technique named as Shunpa, flash step. It was a movement technique that allowed the user to move faster than the eye could follow. The focal point that determines the basis of this technique was speed. As speed is the main point of the technique, the method was best characterized by how fast one can get from point A to point B in the least amount of steps. Training and skill are what determine how fast the user of Shunpa can move. Those of little skill in the technique, or those who haven't used it an extended amount of time would obviously be out of practice, causing those individuals to be considerably slower, which requires the use of more steps to move the same distance and become winded far easier in a shorter amount of time. The second was Kido, demon arts. There were two main types of Kido, Bakudo, way of binding, and Heido, way of destruction. Each jutsu is graded on a scale from 1 to 99, the latter being the most powerful and the most difficult to perform. Zangetsu had informed him that the Uzumaki Council was responsible for giving the grade of the jutsu created by an Uzumaki. The scale is a measure of difficulty, as there can be multiple jutsu which share the same level. To use Kido, an Uzumaki must recite the specific incantation for the spell, which is often long and requires a few seconds to speak. The Uzumakis, who were primarily weapon users, found that making hand seals during combat was difficult and would spell certain doom against a skilled opponent. So they created incantations that served the same purpose as hand seals in focusing and directing their chakra to use jutsus. Though Kido is commonly used by the Uzumaki clan in combat, it has several weaknesses that make it difficult to use for that purpose. All of the spells have fairly long incantations and require concentration. Because of this, the person using the Kido leaves themselves open to attack during the duration of the incantation. Do you understand everything that I have told you, Naruto? Zangetsu asked after he had finished his long explanation. Naruto nodded. His thoughts on how these new techniques could be used to further augment his fighting style. He wondered how was it that Zangetsu knew so much about the Uzumaki clan and their techniques, and asked him about it. The answer was something that he was not expecting. Every spirit residing inside an Uzumaki soul blade resides in a different dimension than the one he was in. Every time an Uzumaki awakens his bloodline, the blade's spirits are able to sense it and scan his very being. If any spirit chooses his or her to be worthy, he transfers itself into his inner world and manifests itself as a weapon. Usually their personalities and beliefs complement each other, and they choose such a person as their wielder. Whenever an Uzumaki dies, or achieves complete mastery over his sword, the blade's spirit returns itself to his home in the other dimension. He also told Naruto that the spirits could visit the dimension whenever they wished, and thus this was the reason that Zangetsu knew so much about the Uzumakis. He told Naruto that he would be returning to the spirit world, as he called it, and would acquire the Kido and Shunpa techniques. Naruto had a question. Was it Shunpa that you were using when we had sparred earlier? You just seemed to vanish from my sight. No, Naruto, that was my natural speed. Shunpa is midway through the conversation. Zangetsu vanished altogether and Naruto couldn't even see a flicker as to indicate the direction that he had gone in. This, Zangetsu said, standing directly behind Naruto. Naruto was amazed by the technique. Such speed would rival even that of his father's Hiraishin jutsu. When do we start? Naruto asked excitedly. Zangetsu began instructing him, teaching him the basics of the Shunpa. The basic idea behind the technique was chakra manipulation. The Uzumaki's chakra was dense, and as such they were able to create a disk of chakra beneath their feet. This in turn provided the necessary thrust required for the technique to work. After about 2 hours of continuous practice, Naruto could perform Shunpa successfully in a controlled environment. He wasn't able to go very far and his speed was not up to the mark. His concentration also left much to be desired, but at least he was making progress. That's enough, Naruto. Keep practicing it whenever you are able to. Try making the disc of chakra beneath your feet whenever you walk. With every step you take you will be training, and use shadow clones to boost your training. You have learned much today, Zangetsu said, his tone underlying with a sense of pride. Thanks for everything, Zangetsu-san. Naruto waved at him, and then faded from his sights. When Naruto opened his eyes he was surprised to see that both Mei and Sakiko had decided to take a nap, and apparently he was decided upon to be used as a pillow. Sakiko was holding his left arm in both of hers, leaning on his side and resting her head on his shoulders, and Mei was simply using his lap as a pillow. Naruto smiled at them and created a clone and took the both of them to their rooms and tucked them in. He went down to the training grounds again and opened the scroll that he had got from Jiraiya, and read up on the second step to mastering the Rasengan. The second step was for the user to burst a rubber ball, and since rubber is thicker, and air is completely different from water, it forces the user to use more chakra with the same haphazard rotation to break it. This step emphasizes power. He again found the required training tools, i.e. rubber balls and a sealing scroll. Naruto took a rubber ball in his hand and channeled more chakra than his previous attempts at breaking the water balloon, and tried to maintain the same movement as before. The ball changed shape and a hole was made in it, but it didn't burst as the scroll described as the level required to master it to the next stage. Naruto sighed and created 200 clones. He directed 100 of them to practice Shunpa and the rest of them worked on completing the second stage of the training for the Rasengan. He himself started training physically, practicing both his taijutsu katas, and then moved on to sparring against his clones. After 3 straight hours of rigorous physical exercise, Naruto sat down in a meditative position and ordered his clones to dispel in groups of 10 every 5 seconds. After all the clones had dispelled, he reviewed the acquired experiences and again tried doing the second step of the Rasengan. The rubber ball exploded violently, and even though Naruto had rooted himself to the ground using chakra, expecting such a reaction, he was still a bit pushed back. his feet digging into the ground. Naruto was simply amazed at the power of this jutsu, and it still had a stage left. Deciding to test out his progress in Shunpa, he was disappointed to find that he had only made a little progress in reducing the concentration time and increased the distance a bit, though his speed had remained the same. After that he turned in for the night. He didn't know anything about their sensei, but it was better to be prepared. Meanwhile, Yuzuki Yugao was standing in front of Hijirin Sarutobi, her commanding officer and the Hokage of Konoha. She had thought long and hard about her situation and was thoroughly confused. She was barely 15 years old, and although she was a part of the Konoha Jounin forces, she was promoted to Jounin from Tokubetsu Jounin by the Hokage just days before. She had asked the reason for this unexpected promotion, and the Hokage had revealed something to her that shocked her. Her parents had died on a mission when she was 5, and after that she had dedicated herself to training. She didn't have that many friends, and due to her early graduation and subsequent promotion through the ranks, people her age were jealous of her power, and people of her rank didn't take her seriously, and frankly speaking, apart from their ninja careers, they had nothing in common. But then the Hokage had revealed that the person with whom her parents had drafted an arranged marriage was alive. She knew of the arranged marriage, but as she knew it, she was to be married to the son of the Yondaime Hokage, Namikaze Minato. As far as she knew, the Yondaime didn't have a son. But the Hokage had told her that Uzumaki Naruto, container of the Kyuubi, was in fact the son of the Yondaime himself. She had gaped at the Hokage for a while, then turned around and left without a word. Before she could leave, the Hokage had informed her that she would be the assigned Jounin sensei of Naruto's team. She had paused momentarily, nodded her head and left. Sitting at her apartment, she had often wondered what it would have been like if her fiancé was there with her. She was sure that she would definitely not feel so lonely, and would have made friends. Now that she knew that he was alive, she was confused what she should do. She didn't have anything against Naruto personally, and had to admit to herself that he was definitely cute. With his sun-kissed blonde hair and deep blue eyes, he was a rare specimen. His whisker-like marks on his cheeks just sealed the deal. But she was also acutely aware that he wasn't the most liked person in the village. She shook her head. It shouldn't matter what others thought of him, and she would at the very least get to know him. She had accepted the Hokage's proposal, but after meeting Naruto and the team today, she was overwhelmed. It wasn't the fact that he had 2 girlfriends that bothered her. She was sure that she could work with that, and considering his situation, it wasn't that uncommon for a person to be put under the CRA in a village like Konoha that had many bloodline clans and welcomed more. But hearing their dreams and goals, she had realized that if she were to become their Jounin sensei, she would be hindering their potential and possibly endangering their lives. She couldn't help but feel overwhelmed. So she had gone to the Hokage with her concerns. I understand your concerns, Yugao-chan. But you have nothing to worry about. You are a skilled ninja. You have held the position of Tokubetsu Jounin for over a year. I believe that you are more than adequate for the job, Sarutobi said gently. But Jounins are supposed to be experts in all the ninja ways. It takes them years to gather the experience, but the only reason that I was a Tokubetsu Jounin was due to my skill with the sword. I really don't have the required experience, Yugao said, desperately trying to make the Hokage see her point. Sarutobi sighed. He knew that Naruto and the girls had received training from Tsunade and Jiraiya, so they had to be strong. Whatever Yugao lacked in her teaching skill could be covered by the both of them. But he had already given out too much information to her. He knew that she could be trusted, but it was better to be safe than sorry. Would it make you feel better if I had the team tested by another Jounin, Yugao-chan? Sarutobi asked after he gave his new idea some thought. Yugao considered the idea. Although it wouldn't help much with their missions, she would feel reassured that they didn't pass just because of her lacking skills. Most of the Jounins would leave the Genins to complete the mission themselves and only intervened if they were in trouble. She would just have to work extra hard and be much more careful than the rest of them. And while training them, she could even start her own training to better herself. I accept your idea, Hokage-sama. I have asked my team to meet me at Training Ground 11 tomorrow morning at 7. Yugao said. Understood. I will make the necessary arrangements. You will meet the Jounin there 10 minutes beforehand. Both of you can discuss how you want to test them. Dismissed, Sarutobi stated authoritatively. Yugao nodded once, bowed and then left. Time skip. Next morning. Naruto woke up around 5 o'clock the next morning. He performed some stretches and, taking stock of his body, concluded that he was fully rested after yesterday's training. He hadn't ever been more thankful for his rapid recovery. It was the reason why he could literally train to the bone every day and not have any adverse side effects. At first he had felt that he was cheating somehow. He could do training exercises that the others couldn't even dream of doing it now safely. After Mei and Sakiko had sat him down and told him that they didn't feel that he was cheating, and although they felt a little jealous, it was something that they were okay with. They had reminded him that it was a part of his bloodline, and a ninja uses every tool or advantage that he can have. He had never let this bother him again, and had vowed to help the girls in their training in any way that he could. He had told them as much, and received 2 pecks on his lips from them. Bringing himself out of his trip to memory lane, he went up to wake up the girls. It was the same each morning. He would wake up the both of them after his morning exercise and stretching, and then the three of them would then get ready to get through the day. Naruto decided to wear his mission clothes to training today. The three of them had received it as gifts from Tsunade. They were told to choose the clothes and the designs, and Tsunade had asked Jiraiya to inscribe some seals on them. The seals used were generally for durability and added strength. If ninjas didn't use such seals, they would go through their whole wardrobe in a month and would be left with nothing to wear. Naruto wore a black sleeveless, skin-tight mesh shirt, which also included a face mask covering his whole neck. It was something that he had ordered on the advice of Zangetsu. He had said that he would tell him later why he didn't need sleeves, and Tsunade had suggested that he had the face mask to hide his whisker marks. It appeared as a normal cloth but was in fact woven with small, almost minuscule pieces of metal. Although it was heavy, it didn't hinder him much and allowed for fluid movement due to its design while increasing his defense. The inside of the shirt was lined with a common material for ninja clothing, otherwise wearing it for long periods of time would not be possible. Although the metallic material made it weak against fire, Naruto figured that the advantages far outweighed the flaws and had ordered them for the girls as well. He also wore dark blue ANBU-style pants and black ninja sandals. The cuffs of his pants were tied by gray bandages, keeping it from fluttering. His ninja pouch was tied to his right side, with a dark brown belt, loosely held, that was tilted slightly towards the left. He also wore an orange scarf that was wrapped twice around his neck and resting on his shoulders loosely, with the rest of the scarf going down on both his sides, up to his mid-back. The ends of the scarf had the Uzumaki clan symbol, a circle with a whirlpool pattern, in black. Attached to the belt, resting on his lower back were what appeared to be 2 sake bottles. These held water that he could use to perform his water ninjutsu. It was an idea that he had come up with after he had learned that seals could be used to store large amounts of water as well. The inside of the bottles were lined with seals that expanded the inside of the bottle. He carried 2 of them, just in case. Looking in the mirror, he couldn't help but think that he was lucky that the girls had helped him with his clothing choices. He looked like a ninja that was not to be trifled with. He went down to have a light breakfast and wait for the girls to get ready. As they came down the stairs, Naruto looked at their chosen dresses and couldn't help but blush. It wasn't that they were purposefully wearing revealing clothing. It was that they were garbed in standard ninja clothing for kunoichi, but they looked simply amazing. Mei was dressed in a long-sleeved dark blue dress that falls just below the knees. It seemed to be closed at the front with a zip, and is kept open on the front right side from the waist down. The dress only covers up to the upper part of her arms and the underside of her breasts. Underneath, she was wearing the same mesh shirt as him that covered more of her upper body than her dress, but stops short of covering her shoulders and still leaves a sizable amount of her upper chest showing. She also wore a skirt in the same color as her dress and, underneath those, mesh leggings reaching down over her knees. Around her waist she was wearing a belt with a pouch attached to the back on the left. Her hitayate was wrapped around her waist as a belt. She completed her outfit with high-heeled sandals and shin guards reaching up over her knees. Coupled with her long auburn hair that reached up to her lower back, she was a decidedly beautiful girl. Sakiko was garbed in a white, sleeveless, Chinese-style dress that was tucked into her shorts. The collars of the dress were up, and covered half of her neck from view, and the neckline was V-shaped and ended just below the middle of her chest, showing a hint of cleavage. The shorts, which were black in color, were totally skin-fit and ended at the middle of her thighs. She wore 2 belts in AX shape over her hips, the right side having her ninja pouch and the left having a standard medical pouch. She also wore fingerless gloves on her hands that extended up to her upper arms. Her hitayate was on her right hand, wrapped just above where her gloves ended in a deep red cloth. Her hair, which was a beautiful black color, was put up so that there were 2 bangs framing her face going down below her chin, and had tied her hair in a ponytail that reached the base of her neck. On her feet she had bandages wrapped, and was wearing the standard ninja sandals in black. Naruto could just stare at them. As far as he was concerned, the girls before him were the epitome of beauty and also a symbol of strength. He realized why they had chosen such dresses. It complemented their style well. Mei with her larger chakra reserves was more of a ninjutsu support fighter, while Sakiko was more of a close-range fighter, being stronger in taijutsu. The girls on the other hand were discreetly admiring Naruto. For a 12-year-old he was quite fit. They had seen that every time that they had gone swimming. His clothes made him look like a proper ninja, someone that you would prefer not crossing paths with. His hair, which was something that they absolutely loved, was spiky and hung on his head, not obstructing his vision but still pulling off the look that it wasn't cut and just grew that way. Overall, they were feeling quite flustered. "Both of you look amazing, beautiful yet deadly," Naruto said, awe shining clearly in his voice. The girls blushed prettily, and Mei replied, "Thank you, Naruto-kun, you're not too bad yourself." Winking at him at the end, Sakiko nodding along. The girls walked up to him, and each took one of his arms and together they made their way to Training Ground 11. At Training Ground 11, as the trio of genin arrived at the scheduled meeting spot, they were surprised to see another person standing there along with their sensei. It was a man that appeared to be in his mid-20s, almost 6 feet tall, and had spiky silver-colored hair. He was dressed as a standard jounin of Konoha, but had a face mask similar to Naruto on his face. He was talking quietly with their sensei, and as they approached, he turned towards them. Naruto, now facing him, could recognize him. He saw as his eyes widened slightly before returning to its normal lazy attitude. Naruto smirked. Hatake Kakashi, we finally meet, Naruto thought. Morning, Yugao-sensei? Naruto greeted, followed by both Mei and Sakiko. Yugao nodded and returned the greeting. Who is this Yugao-sensei? Sakiko inquired. His name is Hatake Kakashi. He's a jounin and will be the one conducting your evaluation. Yugao said. Why? You are our sensei, right? Mei asked. I have my reasons and will tell them to you later, Yugao said, a bit of sadness creeping into her voice. Naruto noticed this and kept it in mind. Even though he didn't know her, she was their assigned sensei, and Naruto just had a gut feeling that it was something important. Alright, Yugao had told me that you already know the value of teamwork and just wants me to evaluate your fighting skills, Kakashi said lazily. He brought out a timer and handed it to Yugao. Holding up 3 bells, he said, Now then, rules. You have 3 hours to take these bells from me. Whether you acquire it by yourself, or by working together. Anything goes. Begin. Naruto, Mei and Sakiko immediately scattered and regrouped. We never planned for this. How do you think we should proceed? Sakiko asked. No, Kakashi is a much stronger ninja, but not as strong as that pervert, Mei said. Naruto remained silent. Jiraiya had told him a lot about Kakashi, and had expressed that after his sensei's death he had changed. It was as if he had lost the motivation to better himself. Jiraiya told him that he blamed himself for his death. There was also the matter about his teammate, Uchiha Obito. He had died saving Kakashi, and had bequeathed his left eye to replace Kakashi's lost eye that he had lost on the very same mission. After that, he had relied on Minato to help him get over it, but apparently his loss was something that he never recovered from. Naruto knew how he felt, placing the blame on himself all this time. It was a wonder that he was able to function at all. He had tried to lessen his guilt by training Sasuke for the last year. Naruto didn't know how that turned out for him, but he planned to find out soon. Girls, I have a plan. It's risky, but it needs to be done, Naruto told them, his voice low. What did you have in mind, Naruto-kun? Sakiko asked. Here's how we are going to do this. With Kakashi. Kakashi was standing in the same position as before, looking around, searching for the genin. Yugao had retreated to a tree a safe distance away. He was surprised to find that he wasn't able to locate them easily. He knew that Naruto was excellent at stealth, but it appears that he had taught his team that same skill as well. Not thinking much about it, he kept on the lookout for any sign of an attack. He jumped to the left as he heard a whistling sound cutting through the air. Dodging the thrown kunai, he was surprised to hear multiple sounds closing on his position. Taking out his kunai, he deflected all the kunai thrown at him. Looking in the direction where he had seen the kunai coming from, he thought he caught a glint of golden eyes in one of the trees. Shaking his head, he readied himself for their attack. He heard a voice call out from somewhere to the left of him. Doton, Ganchuro no Jutsu, Earth Release, Stone Pillar Prison. Kakashi stared wide-eyed as stone pillars 25 feet in height rose up around him in a circle, trapping him effectively. He was shocked that a genin was able to use elemental ninjutsu, a B rank to boot. He didn't wait to see what they were going to do next, and flashing through hand signs, slammed his hand to the earth and called out, Raiton, Kaminari Saji, Lightning Release, Lightning surged forth from Kakashi's hand and surrounded each of the pillars in a circle, and lightning charged inside it. The pillars seemed to hold out for a while but then broke down into tiny pieces, rocks falling to the ground. Kakashi was surprised at how much chakra he had to channel in order to overcome the technique. He realized that he would have to take this fight seriously, and retreated to the trees, hiding himself from plain view. Mei was exhausted after using her technique. She had begun channeling more chakra in the technique to make it stronger and hold out a little longer against Kakashi's jutsu. She had stopped when Naruto had placed his hand on her shoulder and said, That should be enough, Mei-chan, you performed wonderfully. Mei leaned against the tree she was on, and recovered her chakra from her ring. She had performed the first part of their plan, and had some time before she had to do the next. Meanwhile, Naruto had gone over to Sakiko and nodded to her. She went towards the clearing that they were standing in earlier, and pretended to be laying traps. Kakashi saw her, and wondered what she was up to. As far as he had observed, this team was way above the average team that passed from the academy. She shouldn't be leaving herself open like that. While distracted by his thoughts, Kakashi failed to notice a small puff of smoke from the tree behind him. Naruto smiled as he received the memory from one of the clones that he had scattered throughout the training ground. He swiftly moved towards his position and, making hand signs, whispered,